So hey guys. Welcome back to my channel. This is part 1. What if Naruto's feelings were manipulated by Ino for Hinata? But before I start, don't forget to use the 1000 Year of Death on like and subscribe button. Now let's start the story. Tsunade-sama you called. A dark-haired girl no older than 16 peeked through the door to the Hokage's office. Ah, Hinata, yes I did, please come in, come in. A blonde and busty woman of what appeared to be mid-20s waved the young girl in. Hinata, I'm going to be sending you out on a mission with Ino. Hinata turned her attention to Ino. She was the same age as Hinata, yet did not come off as it. She adored her platinum blonde hair and the signature ponytail with her purple mid-drift top and miniskirt. She gave a warm and friendly smile to the young girl. Hinata returned the gesture. You two will be going on a D-ranked mission. Tsunade suddenly stated. What? That one solemn and peaceful look on Ino's face immediately turned into one of shock and utter disgust. What do you mean me and Hinata have a D-ranked mission? Those kinds of missions are for genin. We're chunin now. The older woman rubbed her perfectly manicured fingers against her temples. I knew that Ino would overreact. Oh, why did I sign up for this job? Ah, I need some sake. Listen Ino, I know that you and Hinata are fully capable ninja and that this mission is an insult to both of yours true potential. Damn straight. The older woman twitched her brow in annoyance for the young teen's cocky attitude. However, every powerful ninja needs to go through the basics at least once again in their lifetime. By relearning the fundamentals of being a ninja one can become a better and even more powerful kunoichi in the battlefield. So this is like a mission to test our basic knowledge? Questioned the quiet and timid kunoichi. The Hokage curved her glossed lips upwards into a kind smile. Exactly. She then shifted her hazel eyes towards both kunoichi and a serious aura graced her features. Now you will both go to the north side of Konoha near the outskirts to Miss Sasaki's house. You mean that old lady that lives in that ancient and run-down house that her late grandfather built? Questioned the now calm Ino. Yes. Her old age has affected her ability to take care of said house, so she hires ninja to take care of it for her. This is now both your guys' job. I expect you two to report back to me when you're both finished. Wait a minute, the Hokage stiffened while Hinata turned to look at her partner. The said blonde put her hands on her hips, gave a securitizing gaze towards the older woman. You wouldn't have pure chance given us this mission because there were no genins able. Hinata turned her attention towards the Hokage and gave the impression that she too was pandering the same question. The older kunoichi ignored the question and acted as if it was never said. I expect you two to be on your best behavior. Now go. You have a mission and I have important paperwork to fill out. Both kunoichi left the office, but not before Ino gave a whatever eye roll. Soon as they left, the older woman reached into her lower desk drawer to pull out her secret stash of sake. Damn kids. They catch on faster each day. They had spent the whole day cleaning out rooms, weeding the garden, dusting the shelves and whatever Ms. Sasaki told them to do. They managed to get everything done. The only thing left was the basement. Ms. Sasaki had to leave for a doctor's appointment and she left them with the news that someone should be stopping by the house later on. Apparently, Ms. Sasaki made a living by sewing fabric, whether it was clothes or curtains. Everyone would come to her to put in an order of what they wanted and come back later for their purchase. A customer is supposed to be stopping by to pick up a quilt which was already paid for. All Hinata and Ino had to do was give it said person. Little did they know who would be stopping by. Ding dong, I'll get it, yelled Ino. She walked down the hallway and pulled the door open to find Shikamaru. You're the customer. Ah, troublesome woman, what are doing here? Ino stood there gaping like a fish, then, snapping out of it, was about to answer his question when she was interrupted. Never mind, I can tell by your state of dress you were hired to clean the house. Ino looked down to see that she was covered in dirt and grime. Embarrassed to be seen so filthy, she quickly changed the subject. So are you here for the quilt or what? Shikamaru let out a long sigh. Yes. Can I come in? Sure. Shikamaru made a move to get inside but was halted by Ino's hand, but first you have to tell me what it's for. Shikamaru looked up to see the ever-present devious smile plastered on Ino's face. Ah, it's my mom's, now can I come in? Ino stepped aside to let her teammate inside. So where is it? It's in her office, which is down the hallway to the right. If you need me, I'll be in the basement with Hinata. Ino started to walk away but turned around when she heard Shikamaru. Hinata is here as well. Yeah, she's stuck here as well. And with that, Ino went downstairs, shutting the door behind her and not hearing the click that went off when she did. With his mother's quilt in hold, Shikamaru was ready to leave. Damn woman making me come all this way to get a quilt. He was about to turn the front door handle when he heard distant banging and yelling. What now? He turned on his right heel and headed towards the growing ruckus. It wasn't until he got to the door that he realized that it was Ino making all the noise. Ino, would you stop making so much goddamn noise? Shikamaru asked a hopeful voice. Yes, answered the bored teen. You have to help us, we're locked in the basement. You're locked in the basement, what kind of Kunoichi are you? Shikamaru could have sworn he seen the killer intent emit though the door. Shikamaru Ino growled in a low menacing voice. Why don't you just kick down the door? Cutting off the angry girl. No, because Miss Sasaki's grandfather built this house and it wouldn't be our right if we damaged it. Came a soft quiet voice. Yeah. Yelled a more confident voice. This is so irritating. I wanted to watch the clouds today. I'm sure Ms. Sasaki has a key somewhere. What? Can't you just open the door for us? No, the handle is old and doesn't work properly. Ah, man. I'll find Ms. Sasaki and ask for the key. Where is she? She said she had a doctor's appointment at Konoha Hospital. Alright, I'll go there, but if I can't find her there I'll go to a locksmith. Thanks. Oh, and Shikamaru. Yay. You better hurry. Troublesome woman. Present. The Hyuga era sat with her legs bent up and her arms folded across her knees. Her head was bent down, and she would occasionally lift her wide eyes to see Ino fidgeting on the other side of the room. I can understand why she would be so upset. This hasn't been a good day for me either. Ino shifted her body once again and faced Hinata. She's been so quiet. How can anyone stand being that quiet? The young blonde moved to adjust her ponytail. I guess I'll start up a conversation with her. It would beat this dreaded silence. So, Hinata, how's it been? Said girl lifted her head to show that she was listening. No, it's been fine. Sensing she wasn't going to get any more information, Ino continued. Yay, it's been pretty boring around here lately. There's been no missions and the shop hasn't gotten a lot of customers this week. Actually, not a lot has happened ever since Sasuke killed Itachi. Hinata gazed her line of vision downwards. She still remembered the incident 1 year prior. She remembered how her team and Naruto's were combined to detain Itachi in hopes of rescuing Sasuke. She remembered how they succeeded in capturing Itachi yet failed in bringing Sasuke back. At one point in the mission it was just Naruto and Sasuke fighting by themselves. She didn't know what words were exchanged between the two, nor to what extent the battle between them waged. All she knew was that when it was over Naruto had changed and he was still out there somewhere. No, do you think that Naruto and Sakura have recovered from that mission yet? Ino hardened her gaze on the floor as if analyzing the question herself. It was true that once they all returned from the mission that the two emitted a negative aura around them. They were depressed that once again they could not bring their friend back. Yet their depression was not as heavy as Ino thought that it would be, and for some reason neither one asked to go search for their friend. It was rather odd, and Ino knew that they were hiding something. I don't think anyone can fully recover from a lost friend. Yet, I think as time goes by, the pain can lessen to the extent where you can't feel it anymore, but the scar remains. As Ino said this, her eyes glazed over as if she was talking about her own past. It was obvious to Hinata that Ino was thinking about her past friendship with Sakura. Ino, do you miss being friends with Sakura? Ino snapped her head in Hinata's direction after hearing the question. Hinata, thinking that she asked too much of a personal question, began to squirm uncomfortably. No, you don't have to answer. No, it's alright. I do miss my childhood friendship with Sakura, but we're still friends. It's just different. Now it's more like a friend rivalry thing. But, Hinata tilted her head in a sign of confusion, I thought that you didn't like Sasuke anymore. A loud scream of laughter filled the room. Hinata turned a shade of pink out of embarrassment. After Ino could finally control herself, she looked over at Hinata. Keeping her smile on, she tried to apologize the best she could. Sorry Hinata, it's just that I haven't thought about Sasuke like that in for so long that it kind of seems ridiculous that I would still have a crush on him, you know. Ino wiped a few stray tears away with the back of her hand. Me and Sakura don't fight over Sasuke anymore. Now we try to see who is the better Kunoichi. Oh, I see. Ino began to think for a moment, then her devious smile shone on her face. You know, seeing as how I told you that I no longer have romantic feelings for my childhood crush, it would only be fair if you told me about your recent feelings on your childhood crush. No, what do you mean? If possible, Ino's smile grew even wider. You know, your childhood sweetheart. Do you still have feelings for Naruto? Hinata instantly turned a bubblegum pink upon hearing Naruto's name. Was I really that obvious when we were young? If Ino knows about this, who else does? Should I tell her what I feel for him now? So many questions popped into her head that she didn't notice Ino moving closer to her until she spoke. You do still have feelings for Naruto, don't you? Ino now was looking directly into Hinata's eyes, trying to read her. How did you know I like Naruto? It was really easy to tell with you blushing around him, stumbling over your words and always looking at him. You gave away all the signs of being smitten. Everyone could see it except for the dense idiot himself. And don't you mean like not liked? Ino's smile returned to her face upon seeing Hinata's blush. Well, I guess I still do have feelings for him. When are you going to ask him out? Hinata's face was now a cherry red. What does she mean, ask him out? I can't do that, he'll say no. Naruto would never go out with me. Why would he? What I see can't. Hinata's words traveled off into a soft whisper. Ino frowned upon hearing the statement. All these years and she still can't ask him out on a date. She needs more confidence, she needs help, she needs advice. And that's what I'm going to give her. Hinata, what do you mean you can't ask him out? Hinata lifted her light lavender eyes to meet Ino's blue ones. He wouldn't want to go out with me. Ino's gaze hardened. What do you mean he wouldn't want to go out with you? He along with any other guy would be crazy to say no to you. Hinata's eyes widened at what she just heard. Ino. Ino then got an iron grip on Hinata's shoulders, forcing Hinata to pay attention. Are you not a fully capable Kunoichi of the Leaf Village? Yes. Have you not proven to your father that you are worthy of the Hyuga bloodline ability? Yes. Are you not the next Hyuga heiress? Yes. Have you not grown into beautiful and intelligent woman? Hinata hesitated on hearing the beautiful part of the question, but seeing Ino's dark glare, daring her to say no, she responded. Yes, I am. Then there is no reason for him to say no. But. No buts. If you can prove to everyone that you are a beautiful kick-ass Kunoichi of Konoha, then it shouldn't be a problem to prove it to one boy. No matter how dense he is. Now, do you want Naruto as your boyfriend or what? Hinata. It was coaxed in such a dark warning tone that Hinata immediately answered. Yes. Yes, what? Yes, I do want Naruto as my boyfriend. Good, now that you've admitted it. Time to start working on the plan. The plan? Ino gave a evil chuckle as her lips turned into a devious smile. Yes, Hinata, the plan to get Naruto to be your boyfriend. Hinata's eyes turned the size of dinner plates as she gaped at Ino. Oh no, what have I gotten myself into? Chapter 2. Step 1. It was a cool midnight evening. The full moon shone brightly in the dark clear sky. The streets were bare and quiet. Everyone had retired for the night. Everyone except for the young Hyuga teen that slowly trod her way back to her own establishment. Ino and herself had just finished making their report back to Tsunade-sama. It had taken Shikamaru 4 hours to track down Ms. Sasaki, who was in the orthopedic center at Konoha Hospital. Actually, it didn't take Shikamaru that long to track her down, it had only taken him 1 hour to do that. When he had gotten there, Ms. Sasaki was getting a bone density test and could not be interrupted. The test only lasted 10 minutes, but after it was done she had to see some doctors about treating her osteoporosis. Since the condition was confirmed in her test. So Shikamaru had to sit around in the waiting room for 2.5 hours until he could even talk to Ms. Sasaki. By the time they both got back, Ino was ready to pound Shikamaru into the ground, but immediately settled down upon hearing Ms. Sasaki's condition. Both Ino and Hinata gave her their support and encouragement as they headed off. Hinata lifted her head to gaze at the glistening stars in the distance. I can't stop thinking about what Ino said to me. Am I really going to go though with this plan of hers? Ino had carefully planned Operation Boyfriend Naruto into 3 main parts. These 3 main parts were going to be goals for Hinata to accomplish. Each goal has steps for her to take to complete said goals. The first goal was to be acknowledged by Naruto as a close friend. Hinata closed her eyes as she replayed the conversation with Ino in head. Flashback. But Ino, I am a friend of Naruto's. Yes, but not a close friend. Ino flipped her long blonde hair behind her shoulder. She had just finished explaining her plan to Hinata and she seemed to be unsure of it. Has Naruto ever asked you to hang out or go somewhere with him? No. Does he know what your likes, dislikes, thoughts, dreams or any of your secrets? No. Has he ever shared anything personal with you? Hinata's thoughts turned to the final Chunin exams. Naruto had told her how depressed he was about his upcoming match with her cousin, Niji. Even though it was a side of him that he doesn't normally express, she was sure that he would have done great. Even without her words. No, Hinata's head was bent so far down that Ino thought that she might end up kissing the ground. Ino touched her forearm, startling Hinata to look up. When Hinata raised her eyes she saw Ino's beaming smile. Well, he will. You think? Yep, just follow my advice and you and Naruto will become so close you'll both be like 2 peas in a pod. For some reason when Ino mentioned 2 peas in a pod, Hinata's thoughts turned to Guy-sensei and Rock Lee. Whether it was because of their close similarities or if it was because they have head-to-toe green outfits, either way, Hinata could not suppress the smile that crept onto her face. Present. Hinata arrived at the compound. Everyone was already asleep and she thought it would be better to inform her father about her mission tomorrow morning. It was only a D-ranked mission, there's no need to bother him. Shutting the door behind her, Hinata walked into her bedroom. It seemed to be the only room in the compound that had color. If light lavender is much of change from white. Not to mention all the pictures of her friends that were hung up. It was rare to see such happy and carefree faces in such a stoic and uptight place. But that's what Hinata loved about her room. With a plop, Hinata sat herself on her full-sized bed. Taking a piece of paper Ino had given to her, out of her jacket pocket she read the first line. Step 1. Ask Naruto to spar. It was the first step she had to take in this master plan, and she had to do it by tomorrow evening. Otherwise, Ino was going to use her mind-body switch technique to do it for her. And Hinata would much rather it be herself asking Naruto, not Ino. Hinata looked at the piece of paper again and read the next line. Reason. Challenging Naruto not only shows that you have gained confidence but that you want to be taken seriously as a ninja. One thing that has always gained Naruto's attention is a powerful opponent. Show him what you're made of. Hinata let herself fall back onto the bed. Sure, both herself and Naruto were ranked at the same level, Chunin, but he was really more at the rank of Jonin. Hinata knew that there was no way she would be able to beat Naruto. She would be having enough trouble trying to keep up with him. How did Ino think it would possible for her to prove to be a capable opponent for Naruto? It felt like the odds were against her. What if I choke and can't even ask him to spar? What would happen if I do and he says yes? Will I get scared and run away, making a complete fool of myself in the process? Hinata's eyes hardened at the thought of turning into her old self. The person that would always run away from real competition and would never stand up for herself. No. I won't run away. I made a promise a long time ago to change myself for the better. I will ask Naruto to spar and I will give my all. I won't hold back. It's time to prove to Naruto that his confidence in me was not in vain. And even if he won't return my love in the end, he'll at least find me as a strong kunoichi and a good friend. Hinata threw her jacket into the laundry basket and crawled into bed. Not even bothering with changing out of the rest of her training clothes. As she was beginning to slip into unconscious she had one final thought. I'm not going to back down tomorrow. That's my nindo. The next morning. The bright sun was bearing down on the streets of Konoha. It was mid-morning and already people were out and about taking care of their business. Among the crowded streets walked a young and hyper teenage boy. He was wearing his usual attire of an orange-black jumpsuit equipped with all the necessary ninja gear. He walked in a focused causal path grinning to anyone who would pass by him. Even though he was a skilled shinobi he was unaware of the pale lavender eyes that would watch his every move. Hinata watched Naruto make his ways through the streets with her Byakugan. She had just informed her teammates that she could not train with them today. They had been suspicious as to why she would cancel last minute, but they let it slide. Kiba and Shino had always treated her with respect and trust. Even when her own family didn't. Aside from Naruto, they are the most important boys in the world to Hinata. They're like brothers to her, and she didn't like having to cancel on them, but it had to be done. As soon as she left the teammate training ground she began searching for Naruto. She had heard from around the village that Naruto, Sakura and Sai had been on a class mission and had just returned late the night before. She wasn't sure what the details on the mission were, but it had something to do with escorting a lady back to her home in the tea country. There were rumors that they were ambushed by a couple of thieves, but no injuries were reported. And from the look on Naruto's face it seemed like the mission was a success. As Hinata was reminiscing, Naruto walked into the Hokage's office. Probably to debrief his mission. Thought Hinata. She began jumping rooftops to arrive at the front of the building her crush had just entered. I'll wait out here and ask him when he comes out. Despite what she told herself last night the Hyuga heiress could not escape the anxiety that was coursing through her body. Seeing her dream boy seconds before did not help her nerves. He had grown considerably taller in the past years. Now towering over most of the rookie nine. The extra training routines he committed to has done a great number on his appearance. His body was now equipped with well-packed muscles covered in bronze-tanned skin. He still had those same deep blue eyes that Hinata dreamed of staring into. They held more wisdom now though, and she couldn't figure out if that was a good thing or not. His hair was now longer making his appearance even more like the fourth. Yet even with his more angular face, he still emitted this childlike aura that Hinata loved. Maturity had did Naruto good and Hinata couldn't help but slightly droll from the thought. Hey Hinata. Hinata was ripped from her daydreaming by Naruto, who had just exited the Hokage building. Nah Naruto-kun even though she was expecting him he still, as always, surprised her. What ya doing over here Hinata? Getting a mission. Then no I was looking for you. Naruto cocked his head to the side in confusion. Looking for me? Why would you be looking for me? Hinata was sure she was blushing. And the fact that Naruto was right in front of her, giving her his undivided attention, did not help her stutter. Come on Hinata you can do this. You said so yourself I went back down. I wanted to ask you something. Naruto grinned the grin that would always make Hinata's legs feel like jello. The green kind, not the red. Sure Hinata, go ahead. Focus Hinata. You have a goal to accomplish. I was wondering if it wasn't too much trouble that we see could maybe spar today. Naruto widened his eyes in surprise. Hinata has never asked me to do something with her. I wonder what changed. Sure Hinata. I'd love to spar with you. Hinata lifted her eyes from the ground she had been staring at the whole time. Oh really? Yeah. Just let me go to my apartment to get some gear and I'll meet you at Team 7's training ground in an hour. Okay. Hinata's lips curved into a kind, shy smile. Hi. Alright, seen you then. Naruto waved goodbye as he walked away. Hinata could have sworn that if she had wings, she would be flying right now. I did it. I asked him and he said yes. If Hinata had not been in public right now, she would be doing a happy dance. Yes. Now all I have to do is meet him in 1 hour and we fight each other. That one slight mood turned dull at the thought. Oh no, I just asked Naruto to fight. Chapter 3. Sparring. What was thinking asking him to spar? I must have been out of my mind. Ino must have gotten to me. Now I'm going to make a complete idiot out of myself. I just hope to God that my image won't be totally destroyed in front of his eyes. The young beauty stopped her brisk pacing as a thought came to mind. What if it does? What if I screw up so bad that my reputation as a ninja would become a joke to him? Or that he'll look at me with pity, just like how everyone else used to. Hinata's stomach churned at the thought of her love treating her a poor, useless soul that needed saving. Seeing her as a broken and shattered heart that would be impossible to mend, even with time. Someone who is a hopeless case, just like what her father once said. She did not want him to think that way about her. It hurt when people thought that about her. And she knew that the pain would be 10 times worse if he ever said it. No. Naruto would never think that I'm useless. His heart is better than that. I just have to follow his once said words of encouragement and give it my best shot. Hinata's eyes traveled to a small white flower. It was shorter and less sturdy than the others around it, but it held its face proudly towards the sun. A small smile tugged on Hinata's lips. I just have to have faith in myself. Yo, Hinata. Hinata whipped her head around to see the man who pondered her every thought, walking towards her. Then Naruto her cheeks tinted a light pink as her eyes traveled towards her shoes. Sorry to keep you waiting. I forgot to eat breakfast so I had to stop to get some ramen on the way. Naruto scratched the back of his head as he gave a sheepish grin. That's okay and Naruto-kun. Her eyes were still glued to the ground as her dark indigo bangs prevented Naruto from seeing her blush. Why does she always look at the ground? It's not interesting. So, Hinata, you ready? The heiress's head slowly came up. The question reeling itself in her mind. Am I ready? Can I really do this? She then stole a glance of Naruto's childish grin. She knew her answer. Yes. Yes, I'm ready. She answered truthfully. Naruto was taken aback a little that not only was she looking at him, but she didn't stutter. I guess Hinata is just full of surprises today. Alright then, let's get started. Two figures stood before each other. Each at opposite sides of the field ready to attack and defend against the other. They were both still, not making a move, but sizing up the situation with their eyes. Except for a few trees and training posts, the large area was pretty much bare. Perfect to land huge and explosion attacks without causing too much damage, but at the same time perfect to hide from the opponent if needed. The young girl waited, knowing that her opponent was one to act first. And as she predicted he did. Shadow Clone Jutsu. The young boy yelled. And as he said it, 2 other copies of himself appeared at his side. Together they began running towards the person on the other side. Byakugan! Shouted the girl. Veins appeared around her eyes, but what appeared to her was so much more. And thanks to that ability, she just barely dodged the attack of a summoned clone from behind her. Spinning her body around to avoid the punch, she drew a kunai and threw it towards the clone as she came back around. The weapon punctured into the clone's back, and with a poof it was gone. Nice one Hinata, but you won't get away from this attack. The light blush spread across the girl's cheeks despite the situation. The clone on Naruto's left came in fast, crouching low and sticking out his leg to kick her legs out, while the other clone came in from the other side, raising his fist towards her face. They would have taken her out, top and bottom, if she had not let herself fall backwards into a flip, avoiding the punch and kick. But she forgot about the real Naruto, and when she stood upright she came into contact with his fist. She flew back a few feet and landed on the hard and dirty ground. After a few seconds she sat upright, whipping the blood from her mouth. She looked at the determined blonde teen and his clones ahead of her. 10 minutes later. The ground had the evidence of a battlefield. It had been ripped apart, leaving holes in its surface. Some of the trees that belonged to it had scratches and dents that it did not have earlier. Standing in the middle of all the destruction were the 2 people who were responsible for it all. The young girl breathed heavily. Cuts and bruises now adored her skin. All underneath the torn clothing. Her hair was a disheveled mess. With dirt and twigs tangled with it. She was in a poor state. Yet still, she stood firm ground. The boy before her was in much less distress. But his clothing was covered in dirt and a few minor cuts and bruises were seen. Evidence of the few shots that she had managed to get in. The battle was coming to end but it was not over. I don't have much chakra left, which means I have to be careful. I'll have to act smart. You did good Hinata, but it's time to finish this. The teen beauty looked up to see the boy and his clone begin to form Charka into a sphere-shaped form. Oh no. He's going to use Rasengan. Get ready Hinata. The young man began running at full speed towards the young girl. The now complete chakra sphere rotating in his hand ready for its full attack. I won't be able to get away fast enough in my state. I have to think of something fast. The girl lifted her hand and brought it towards the headband wrapped around her neck. Just as the boy was closing in on his target, a bright and painful light crossed his eyes, distracting him. The sunlight that was bounced off of Hinata's headband and to Naruto's eyes gave the girl enough time to escape. Enough time to briskly avoid the destruction of his attack. The light that once occupied his vision had disappeared. And now he could see clearly that his attack did not hit Hinata but a tree behind her. Just as soon as his attack ended, he was soon met with the face of his opponent. Hinata could see the shock written on his face. The surprise that she was able to avoid such an attack. But she was not done yet. And what she had to do next must be acted on as fast as possible. Quickly getting into position before her opponent, she uttered the words that he did not expect to hear. Daiukenhu, Haki Rakaju Yonshu. Before the boy knew it, the girl had already put the attack into play. Soon, he was showered with hits, closing off each vital chakra point. The gradual rapid pace in her movements were so fast that he could not feel each blow she landed. Just the firm voice that she held. 2 strikes, then 8, followed by 16, third woe and finally a 6th was heard before he was thrown backwards onto the ground. The girl breathed heavily again. Exhaustion and chakra depletion took its toll onto the girl as she collapsed to her knees. I don't believe it. I really did it. I don't believe that I really did it. A small yet fully satisfied smile appeared on the young girl's lips before slipping into darkness. Hinata, hey Hinata, wake up. Bright light spilled into her world as Hinata slowly opened her eyes. As her vision finally focused and became clear, she could see the face of her longtime crush looking down at her. She could also feel a warmth encircling her body. Realizing that Naruto was holding her in his lap, a bright and full blush immediately came into sight on her cheeks. Hey Hinata, you alright? You passed out after your attack and now you're looking a little red. Quickly sitting upright and out of Naruto's reach, she gave a rushed answer. Hi. I'm fine. Naruto gave her a confused and, if you asked Hinata, cute look before giving her his foxy grin. Because, I don't want my new sparring partner to be sick. Sparring partner? Yeah. You did such an awesome job back there Hinata. I had no idea that you mastered that technique or that you would ever me down with it. You're even better ninja than I thought. The rosy blush made its way on Hinata's face after hearing such kind words. He really thinks that I'm a good ninja. Not only that, but I impressed him. Naruto, thinking that the silence was a refusal to the offer rather than embarrassment, tried to fix the situation. You don't have to be my training partner if you don't want to. I just thought. Hinata, realizing what he was saying, quickly came back down to earth. No. Taken aback by the outburst, Naruto jumped a little before shock shone on his face. Aware of her uncharacterized-like expression, she blushed and quickly tried to explain. No, what I meant was that. Swallowing a rising knot in her throat, she continued, I would love to train with you. You would? Not trusting her voice, she nodded. A wide grin spread on his face as she did so. Great. Just wait Hinata. You and me, we're going to become even better ninjas after our sessions. A genuine smile came to the young girl's face. Ino was leaning on the front desk to the Yamanaka flower shop. As of right now there were no customers. In fact, there hadn't been any all day. The young teen let out a very bored and slightly irritated sigh. This is so boring. Why do I even work here again? Oh yeah, how could I forget my parents? They own this place. Just as Ino was about to arrange the same set of flowers, again, she heard the bell to the front door ring, signaling a customer's arrival. An immediate smile appeared on her face, and it only increased in size when she turned to see who it was. Hinata. You're here early. I thought I might not see you until tomorrow. Said girl walked her way towards the counter. Her clothes, hair and overall appearance was a mess, but she held a genuine smile with a light in her eyes. My. What exactly happened in her encounter with Naruto? I take it that you completed your first step. The smile on Hinata's face grew. Hi. And I take it from your smile that he said yes. Hi. So did the fight go okay? The fight part was the only thing that worried Ino. She knew Hinata would find the confidence to ask Naruto and that he would say yes. But what she didn't know is if Hinata would give it her all in the fight. She prayed that she did. Oh Ino, it went better than I imagined. One of Ino's perfectly trimmed brows raised upon interest. What do you mean? Nothing could have prepared Ino for what she heard next. He asked me to be his training partner. What? Ino's mouth dropped and her eyes bulged out. Still seeing the light in Hinata's eyes, she knew it had to be true. Oh. My. God. You have to tell my everything. But not no. Met me at Cafe Lawrence at 7 and bring a notepad and pen. A notepad? Pen. Just trust me. Now hurry and go, I have to make a very important phone call. Hinata gave Ino a bewildered expression before leaving the shop. As soon as she was gone, Ino picked up the shop phone and quickly dialed a number. Ino, this better be important, I'm working right now. Oh, believe me, this is important. Do you have any plans for this evening, say around 7? No, I should be out by then. Why? Oh well, I thought it would be nice to have dinner with a couple of friends at Cafe Lawrence. Friends? As in, not just me but someone else as well. Don't worry, I'll fill you in on the details before we get there. Oh no Ino. What have you done now? A devious smile appeared on the blonde's lips before she answered, don't worry, when this is all done with, even you will praise me. Chapter 4. Step 2. In the heart of Konoha, a small yet cozy cafe attended a crowd of customers. Most of them did not stay more than the time it took for them to receive their food, eat it, and rush off to their busy lives. Among the busybodies sat a calm and quiet soul at a table by the window. The only noise she made was the silent tap of her pen against her notepad. She would occasionally look out of the large glass window searching for someone to arrive. I wonder why Ino wanted me to bring paper and something to write with. No sooner had the thought entered the young girl's mind had the door opened, allowing another customer to enter. Hinata turned her head towards the entrance to find not only the mistress of love, but a familiar pink-haired comrade as well. What's Sakura doing here? Did Ino invite her? Hey Hinata. I brought Sakura. Hope you don't mind if we all discuss the plan together. Ino and Sakura sat themselves on Hinata's right and left side. It didn't go unnoticed by Hinata how Ino gave her a sly wink when she said plan. No, I don't mind. But. Cause, even though forehead girl here isn't as great as moi, she still could be useful to us. Excuse me, Miss Ino Pig, but I might just be the one to save Hinata from this pathetic construction you call a plan. Whatever, forehead girl. Hinata couldn't help but smile at the two girls' antics. They both had matured during the years, both as Konoichis and women. But put them in the same room together and you can say goodbye to all that maturity. So Hinata, did you bring the notepad and pen? Hinata turned her attention back to the table, hearing Ino's question. Yes, I did. Why did you want me to bring them again? Ino waved off her question with her hand. I'll explain that later. Right now, tell us about the fight. I already told Sakura about the plan, so don't worry about that. No, well, it all started when we met at the training ground. After retelling her tale, both Sakura and Ino remained silent. Hinata couldn't tell if it was a good sign or not. They had stayed quiet for most of the story, occasionally putting in a question or two. But now, they were dead silent. Just as she was about to ask them what they thought, she was interrupted by two high-pitched squeals. You were right, Hinata. That did go better than planned. Yeah. I was worried that Ino's love plan might lead you down the wrong path, but I guess not. Shows how much you know. Hinata could see a vein appear on Sakura's forehead. No doubt compliments to Ino's statement. Swallowing down her anger, Sakura asked Hinata a question through gritted teeth. So when are you going to see him again, Hinata? The light pink tinted Hinata's features as she began fiddling with edge of her bulky jacket. Tomorrow at 11. That's soon, huh? Well, Naruto has always been one to jump right into things. Sakura's gaze turned towards the busy streets outside. She and Naruto have been working together for years now. And as much as she didn't want to admit it, that little baka had really grown on her. Even before the Sasuke disappearance, they had started to become good friends. And when Sasuke really did leave, their bond strengthened instead breaking apart. Much due to their similar determination to bring their friend back. Sasuke, he's still out there. I hope he's okay if not alive. Sakura. Hey Sakura. Are you even listening to me? Sakura's thoughts were soon brought to a halt by a seething blonde, gripping her hands into fists out of anger. Oh, I'm sorry Ino, what were you saying? The fire in Ino's eyes began to die down as her resolve slowly kicked in. I was just telling Hinata here that she could complete the second step no problem if she put her mind to it. Don't you agree, Sakura? Sakura's emerald green eyes shifted toward the pale yet pretty heiress. There was no doubt in Sakura's mind that Hinata was an excellent ninja and an even better friend. She had seen in her combat. She had seen her stand her own against the enemy. All the while keeping an eye out for her fellow comrades. She hadn't missed it when Hinata would offer her friends food or medicine, even when they didn't really need it. Hinata always offered kind words and a shoulder to cry on when needed. She's an amazing person. Even if she has trouble seeing it herself. That's why Sakura agreed to help with this plan of Ino's. That's why Sakura knows Hinata will be good for Naruto. She won't betray him. She won't rip out his heart and leave him to die. If anything, she would mend the pieces of his heart back together for him. She'll love him. Just like how he should be loved. Yes, I think Hinata will do a great job. Upon hearing the statement, said girl began blushing. To Hinata, completing the second step wasn't impossible, it was just impossible for her. But what? No buts. Screeched Ino, really Hinata, you have to stop with these lame excuses and just go for it. If don't risk something then you'll be risking everything. A long sigh escaped Hinata's lips. Even though she didn't want to admit it, Ino was right. If she didn't go through with this, then she would be giving up everything that she has been dreaming of. But I don't know if I can do it. Step 2 seemed simple enough. All she had to do was hold a conversation with Naruto. But for someone like her, who stutters every word, blushes like a madman, avoids eye contact and not to mention is extremely shy, it was like Ino asked her to jump off of a cliff. It'd be very dangerous and stupid for her to do it. Hinata, do you remember why I made this a step? Hinata cast her pale eyes downwards as she remembered what Ino wrote down for her. No, I do. The reason for the step were more than one. For one, this was something needed for both of them to start their relationship. It wouldn't do their friendship any justice if they never talked. Also, talking is how you learn about each other. Ino said that they would start talking about stupid meaningless things at first, just like how everyone does, and then progress into more serious conversations. So, their first talk wouldn't be anything too personal. Which in way calmed Hinata. She loves Naruto but she's not ready to spill her heart to him just yet. The third reason is to get rid of Hinata's own nerves around Naruto. Well, at least calm them. Ino thinks that by talking and spending more time with Naruto, Hinata will eventually feel more at ease around her love and begin to open up to him. It sounds like Ino knows what she's doing. I just hope I made the right choice by trusting her. Well, Hinata, do you agree with my reasoning or not? Yes. Good. Now about tomorrow. It would be the perfect chance to carry out this step. Don't you think? I guess it would be. I'm glad you agree. Now have you thought about an icebreaker? And no, I haven't. That's alright. It's why I brought Forehead here. Ignoring the nickname, Sakura spoke up. As you already know, me and Naruto already have a good friendship. So, I know what he does and doesn't like to talk about. I'll give you some ideas. Make sure you write down all of what Sakura says so you don't forget. Hinata barely nodded her head. Already thankful for Sakura's assistance. But before we brainstorm ideas, there's something important I first have to tell you, Hinata. Hinata's eyes locked with Ino's. Secretly telling her that she had her full attention. Whatever idea you chose will be your own choice. We will give you ideas but don't expect us to tell you what to talk about with him. This is a relationship between you and him. No one else. This plan is nothing more than a push for you in the right direction. And whatever idea you pick must lead to a conversation. It has to be two people talking. Not just one telling the other a story about some mission. There needs to be something about the subject that you both can relate to. You need to speak in order for this step to be complete. Otherwise, Naruto will never learn anything about you. Hinata just sat there trying to absorb all the information at once. She had to admit that she was happy Ino was letting her make her own decisions within this plan of hers. It made her and Naruto's relationship feel more personal. Yet at the same time, she was afraid that her choice might not be the right one. You understand what I'm trying to tell you, Hinata? Startling Hinata out of daze, Hinata turned towards the blonde and gave her a small smile. No, I do. A similar smile shone on Ino's face before saying alright then, let's get started. Hinata walked back to her compound after saying her goodbyes to both Ino and Sakura. She took a look down towards her notepad. Skimming though the pages of notes, she came to the same conclusion she had before her chat with the girls. She still had no idea what to talk about with Naruto. All of their ideas were good and Sakura's description on Naruto was really helpful, but none of the subjects felt like the right one. Looking out onto the sun setting in the horizon, one thought would repeat itself in Hinata's mind. What am I going to do tomorrow? She was still thankful that Ino let her decide what the icebreaker would be, but the thought of choosing the wrong subject matter gnawed on her insides. What if she brought up something that would be either hurtful or embarrassing for him to talk about? Or what's worse, she picked a subject that ended up doing just that to herself. She didn't want to embarrass herself in front of him. What would he think? Lifting her eyes from the road she had been walking on, she saw the Hyuga gates in front of her. Not only that but her cousin and his teammates as well. They must have finished training for the day. Even though they were all jonin now, they would still train regularly together just like they used to. In fact, everyone still did. Hey Hinata. The first one to notice the heiresses arrive was Niji's girlfriend, Tenten. They have been going out for 2 months now, and Hinata has never seen Niji happier. She's even seen him crack a genuine smile or two. Which in itself is amazing. Tenten has really changed him for the better. They're just so happy when they're together. You can see it in their eyes. I wonder if they'll ever get married. Tenten would make a great sister-in-law. Oh, what am I thinking? They've been only going out for a few months. I'm getting ahead of myself. Hinata was about to call back to Tenten when a blur of green enveloped her in a fierce hug. She couldn't help but smile whenever Lee embraced her. Letting go, her cousin's bushy-browed teammate looked straight at her and shouted. Yosh. You have grown into an even more beautiful flower since the last time I have seen you. The power of youth defiantly resides in you, Hinata. Her smile grew upon his words, as did her blush. Hinata couldn't help but love Lee. He was always enthusiastic about everything. He never gave up hope. Always striving to be better at what he does. He faces everything as a challenge and at the same time wears his heart out on his sleeve. Either screaming his declaration of love or by showing his affection in an embrace. Hinata sometimes wished she had the courage to do what he could. Some people would think it strange how she admires Lee. Seen as how he is loud, outspoken and challenging while she isn't. But to her it wasn't strange. She has of course fallen for the #1 hyperactive ninja in the village. Lee, leave her alone. Hinata took a look behind the green-clad ninja to see that Niji and Tenten had walked over to them. Niji no doubt said those words. She could tell from the voice. Yosh. But I wanted to ask Hinata if her day was youthful. It was fine, Lee. How was yours? Excellent. The training has been most difficult. I can't wait for tomorrow. Hinata giggled hearing the painful sound of Niji and Tenten. It meant that whatever training Lee was doing, he was making them do it as well. And from the sound of it, they weren't enjoying it. So Hinata, what kind of youthful activities do you have planned tomorrow? She knew people would soon find out about Naruto being her new training partner sooner or later. She just wished it was later. They all know I'm training with someone. Oh, and exactly who are you training with, Hinata-sama? Turning her attention towards her cousin, she could not miss the questioning and analyzing gaze in his eyes. He knew she was hiding something. She could never wear a mask around him. Naruto-kun. 3 very different sets of eyes widened as Hinata's cheeks turned a soft pink. Did you say Naruto? When did this happen? Hinata answered Tenten's question with, today. How did this happen? I asked him to SP spar. He said yes. We fought and afterwards he asked me to be his training partner. You asked him to spar? Yes. Hinata took her chance and looked at Team Guy's expressions. Lee's smile was so big that it practically covered his entire face. He also had a light in his eyes. Tenten's face was covered in what appeared to be shock and awe. What surprised her the most was Niji's expression. He was smiling, it didn't look fake either. In fact, it looked like he was proud of her. In all truth, Hinata couldn't be too surprised. After the Chunin exam, years ago, their relationship steadily got better. He no longer held that hate in his eyes, which was reserved just for her. They started having real conversations, not just being content with the awkward silence. Soon, Niji agreed to train Hinata. They would meet up daily to improve her skills. Until 2 years later, when she mastered the unique Hyuga fighting style, she no longer was his student but peer. They still train together but only once a week. They'll fight each other to see how the other is improving and to help each other as well. Somewhere along the way, she knew that her and cousin had become friends. To this day, Hinata thinks of it as her greatest accomplishment. Wow, Hinata, that's great. Exclaimed Tenten. Thanks. It was then that their happy moment was interrupted by a low rumble. Coming namely from Tenten's stomach. Haha. I guess I'm hungry, huh? A smirk came onto Niji's face. Come on, I'll take you to get something to eat. Tenten had always commented on how the stoic Hyuga did not have a romantic bone in his body. Despite her statement, Hinata could not mistake the light blush rising on Tenten's cheeks. Thanks. HN. Hinata could defiantly see what Tenten had meant. Oh. You should take her to the new place downtown, Niji. Yosh. It has the most delicious dumplings. I'll keep that in mind, Lee. Hinata had to suppress a giggle. She could see that Niji was aggravated with Lee butting in on his and Tenten's moment. But the talk of dinner did make her realize that she didn't eat at the cafe and was getting pretty hungry herself. Ah. That's it. How could I have not thought about that before? It's something simple yet broad. It would be the perfect conservation starter. Without a second thought, Hinata began running towards the gates. Yosh. Hinata. Where are you heading off to? Stopping herself, she turned around and yelled back, I just remembered that I have to do something. She was about to start running again, but she ended shouting, good luck on your date. And with that she was off. However, before she left she could have sworn that Niji's cheeks were tinted a light pink. but she would never say that out loud. Chapter 5. What bad luck. My first thought was to have the conversation between Hinata and Naruto to be simple and sweet. But then I decided to have some fun. Tell me how you like it. Have you ever had one of those days when nothing goes your way? That no matter what you did, the situation at hand just could not get better. In fact, it continued to spin downward. Today was that day for Hinata. Today was her lucky day. This is a disaster. Nothing has turned out as how I planned it. Right at the moment she was sitting at Ichiraku's, trying her best to contain her embarrassment. Naruto was a few feet away. He was flapping her jacket back and forth, making a huge wet stain upon it slightly dry. Aside from the sound of the flapping jacket and the mumbled sorry from Naruto, you could hear the stifled snickers from Kiba, who along with a smirking Shino, were staring at the odd couple. It was just supposed to be a nice little lunch. Not one of the most humiliating days of my life. Hinata gave a quiet moan behind her hands that were covering her red face. Who knew that offering a pre-made lunch would turn into something like this? Flashback. They had just decided to take a break from their training. Hinata had been a little reluctant at first. Afraid that she may not live up to the standard that she had set herself yesterday. But soon as she heard Naruto's opportunistic and encouraging voice, all her dark thoughts vanished. For 2 hours they analyzed each other's movements. Trying different approaches on their attacks to see how the other would react. They were learning about each other in their own ninja way. Sitting herself on the blanket of grass, under the comfort of a shaded tree, she pulled out a bento box from her knapsack. She had planned this conservation down to a pinpoint. She would offer Naruto a bento box with a prepared lunch, made by herself, and he would accept. With some persuasion of course. When he did, they would eat lunch together chatting about the food she had prepared him. It wasn't the most exciting icebreaker in the world, but it was something. People had always told her that if she didn't become a ninja then she should have became a chef. They said that her food was best gift anyone could receive. Kiba, Shino and Kurenai were first to try her cooking skills. It somehow became her duty to prepare lunch for them every day they trained together. She has to admit that the idea of becoming a chef is tempting. But she'd rather have it as a hobby and cook just for her friends and family. Sakura told her that Naruto isn't much of cook and would usually go out and get something to eat rather than bring a lunch. Hinata decided to take that opportunity and cook Naruto lunch. She had spent a lot of time on this lunch. More than she had with anything else she has cooked. It was simple. But the rice balls had been rolled into perfect balls, the dango ideally positioned on its skewer, and the green tea brewed to just the right degree. The first instinct on Hinata's part was to make ramen, but she figured it would better to have a wider variety in Naruto's diet. Everything was perfect. She just had to give it to him now. Alright Hinata, you can do this. All you have to do is hand him the box. Gathering her courage, the pale-eyed girl stood up. With bento box in hand, she made her way towards the hyperactive blonde. His back was turned towards her so she could not see his animated face. "Nah Naruto-kun, I have something for you." Boom. The next thing Hinata knew she lifted off the ground, being thrown back several yards. The lunch flew into the air and it began raining food. Coming to, she realized that she was on the ground with a heavy weight on her stomach. The weight began moving, the pressure lessened, and Naruto's face came into view. "Oh my gosh Hinata. Are you alright?" "Then Naruto-kun. I'm so sorry Hinata. I was putting my weapons away and I guess one of my demolition tags went off by accident, sorry." Naruto sheepishly scratched the back of his head as he offered his hand to Hinata. Taking his hand in hers she stood up, still feeling a little dazed from the fall. Regaining her consciousness, the ruined and dirty food that scattered the ground became all too apparent. Our lunch. Our lunch. Oh well you see I made you us lunch." "You did?" The soft pink shone on Hinata's features, highlighting her embarrassment. "Hi. And I ruined it." Lifting her gaze she caught the guilt and embarrassment shining in Naruto's eyes. "I know Naruto-kun, it's alright. But the lunch you made. We can't eat it because of me." "That's alright. I know. We can go to Ichiraku's. I'll even pay." Hinata's blush hardened. "Naruto's going to treat me to lunch. It almost sounds like a date." Hinata was shaken from her fantasies when a large warm hand began pulling on her wrist. "Wait Naruto. I can't, I'll let you pay." "Nonsense Hinata. It's the least I can do." Trying to break from his grip was futile. Once Naruto made up his mind on something, nothing could stop him. Biting back her words of excuse, she decided to go along for the ride. Naruto led Hinata to Ichiraku's ramen stand. Well, he more like dragged her. You could hear the occasional curse word being shouted at the blonde for bumping into the people. When the shouting died away and Hinata's wrist was finally let free from Naruto's iron grip, they were standing outside of Ichiraku's. "We made it. Now it's time to have some of the best ramen you've ever tasted Hinata." Offering a small smile to her comrade, she sat herself beside him on a stool. She had been here a few times before. She wanted to see what made Naruto love this place so much. And with the few times that she had been, she admits it's a great place. And not just because Naruto says so. There was a warm and inviting atmosphere to this place that made you instantly relax. The food was amazing. Just the smell of the place made your mouth water. It wasn't a fancy, uptight place, nor was it a rundown shack. It was perfect. Boy. Old man, we want some ramen. Hold your horses, Naruto, I'm coming. Oh, and I see you brought a pretty young lady with you. The owner of the stand laid his eyes on Hinata. She blushed and squirmed under his gaze. It wasn't a cold or hard gaze, like her father's, it was friendly and curious. But Hinata never liked being the center of attention. Oh, this is my new training partner, Hinata. Hinata Hyuga. Hinata, you've been here before, right? It wasn't a question, it was a statement. Hi. Well, it's nice to see you again. And it's nice to see that someone can withstand Naruto's antics. Hey. Pouted Naruto. Suppressing a giggle, Hinata couldn't help but notice how much of a father-son relationship Naruto had with this old man. What would you like, Miss Hyuga? Oh, miso ramen. And you, Naruto? Beef ramen and make it fast. Yay, yay. The old man walked away and began preparing their meals with the help of his daughter Am. Naruto and herself were alone once again. Oh no. I don't have an icebreaker anymore. What do I say? They sat in silence for a while. No one said anything. It was just silent. Come on, Hinata, say something. Anything would be better than this. Turning her head towards Naruto on her left, she opened her mouth as if to say something. But it was snapped back shut when nothing came out. Anything? They all know the wee weather's nice today, huh? Naruto expressionless face brightened up hearing her words. Yeah. It is. Realizing she had nothing more to say, they were both put back into that uncomfortable silence. The weather, out of everything I could have picked, I picked the weather. Great. Orders up. Snapping herself from her daze, Hinata looked up to see the old man set the two bowls down in front of them. Thank you. He gave her a gentle nod before retiring in the back. Naruto began to dig into his ramen right away, while Hinata presented herself in a more mannerly way. At least the ramen's here, so I don't have to embarrass myself anymore. Hey Hinata, isn't that Kiba and Shino over there? Hearing her teammates' names, she turned her head around so fast that it could have snapped. Kiba and Shino. Oh please God, do not let them see us. Boy. Kiba. Shino. Over here. No. What is he doing? But it was already too late. Kiba and Shino had heard the enthusiastic blonde and were already walking towards them. Now, Hinata wasn't worried about her teammates being mad at Naruto for treating her to lunch. They're friends with Naruto as well and think he's a good guy. She wasn't worried that they would be mad at her for not telling them he was her new training partner. They would understand. No, that wasn't what worried her. What worried her was what they were going to say. They have known about her crush on Naruto back when they were Genins. And they have always teased her because of it. Shino had always been more subtle about it, but he could be just as bad as Kiba. They had just arrived at the stand and Hinata could already see the mischievous glint in Kiba's eyes. Oh great. Hey Naruto. Hey Hinata. Didn't expect to see you two together. Stated Kiba with a wolfish grin. Yeah. Perked up Naruto, we just finished training. Training? Shino asked in a monotone voice, but Hinata knew there was a hint of amusement underneath it. Yeah. Me and Hinata are training partners now. Both boys turned their heads in Hinata's direction. She could see Shino's eyebrows rise above his sunglasses and she could see Kiba's eyes widen. A blush and dodged gaze was their answer. Oh I see, said Shino. I accidentally messed up the lunch Hinata made for us, so I'm treating her to ramen. Hinata dared herself to look at her teammates. And sure enough, that glint was back into Kiba's eyes. Oh no. He wouldn't. So this is like a date. Damn him. The ramen and soup that was once in Naruto's mouth was spatter onto the front of Hinata's jacket. Oh no. I'm so sorry Hinata, I didn't mean to. Hinata was frozen. She had just gotten drenched in ramen by Naruto. And it wasn't quite registered. She did come back down to earth hard when she heard Naruto's next words. Here, give me your jacket Hinata. I'll fix it. Realizing what he was asking, the Hyuga girl turned an interesting shade of red. That's okay nah Naruto, you don't need to. It's the least I could do. Not one to resist Naruto's plead, she gave in. Ignoring the amused stares from her teammates. Why couldn't things have went the way I planned? Present. That's how it went. That's how Hinata's pre-made lunch turned into a demolition target. That's how the planned conversation turned into an awkward silence. That's how Hinata's jacket into the latest ramen wear. That's how her lucky date turned out. Hinata and Naruto finished their meal at Ichiraku's, saying their goodbyes to Kiba and Shino. Well, Naruto said goodbye to them, she just ran away from them before they embarrassed her even more. Naruto, being the good guy that he is, offered to walk her home. Hinata quietly nodded her head, not trusting her voice. They were quietly making their way to the Hyuga estate. Hinata held her now dry but dirty jacket in hand. "Listen, Hinata, about your jacket. It's alright, Naruto-kun, you didn't do it on purpose." "Yeah, I know, but still feel bad." "It's fine." "Really?" "Hi, I know how to wash out ramen." "You do?" "Hi, it's happened before." "Really, when?" "When I went to Ichiraku's for tea first time with Kiba-kun and Shino-kun." "What happened?" "I accidentally knocked over Shino-kun's bowl and it fell on my lap." A childish and fun grin spread across Naruto's face. "That happened my first time eating ramen too." Hearing those words, her shyness was quickly forgotten as curiosity got the better of her. "Really?" "Yeah, expect I knocked over my own bowl." Looking at each other, they smiled until they began to share a laugh. Hinata's laugh was gentle and soft, while Naruto's was warm and heartily. Wow, I don't think I've ever heard Hinata laugh before. It's nice. She should laugh more often. Their laughter died down until they were smiling at each other again. "Well, I guess I'll see you tomorrow, then, Hinata." Hinata's eyes widened when she realized that they were at the Hyuga gates. "We're here. But when did that happen?" 11. Huh? Oh. Hi, E11. Good night, Hinata. Good night, Naruto-kun. The young heir stared at the retreating figure of Naruto, silently wishing he didn't have to leave just yet. "I can't believe we talked. We talked the whole way here. I did it. I completed step 2 without even really trying." If there was one thing Hinata learned from today, it's that not everything will go as planned. But that just might be for the best. Chapter 6. Step 3. Hinata. Naruto. You have a mission. The Hyuga girl and Kyuubi vessel stood before the 5th Hokage. It's C-ranked. You two are to deliver a scroll to a feudal lord in the Grass County. It has been 2 weeks since Hinata completed step 2. Ever since the ramen spilling conversation, talking to Naruto has steadily become easier and easier for Hinata. The blushes and stutters lessen in numbers, and in its place real conversations took place. They haven't shared anything deep with each other, but they knew the little things that filled each other's lives. Like their favorite food, mission, past memory and what they think about their other friends. Slowly but surely, they were becoming better and closer friends. You have 3 days to get there. There's been a problem though. She hasn't even attempted step 3. Ino is very upset. This scroll contains very important information on. It's not that Hinata is afraid of the 3rd task, she just hasn't found the right time to ask him yet. There might be enemy ninjas looking to get their hands on this scroll. Asking someone over to your house takes time. You can't just ask anyone over and share your childhood with them. Especially if it's the Hyuga compound. Be on guard. The Hyugas are known as Konoha's royalty. They are rich, powerful and intimidating. And their estate is no exception to their reputation. You will leave tomorrow at dawn. The truth is, Hinata is afraid of asking Naruto over. She's not afraid he'll get intimidated or feel belittled by her family's huge compound, but that he'll be misled. Misled into thinking that this is the type of life she prefers to live. That she would rather have the lavish, lush, extravagant life rather than a secure, comfy, relaxing one. She wouldn't. Make sure to check out at the main gate before leaving. She loves her family, even with everything they had done to her in the past. But she doesn't want to live like them. She wants to cook her own meals, clean her own room, pay her own bills. And maybe do that for someone else one day. But how does she get Naruto to know that? You're dismissed. I can't believe we have a mission together, Hinata. A mission with Naruto. Yeah. Isn't it great? Alone? Sure. Hey, are you alright, Hinata? Oh, hi, I'm just a little distracted. Distracted with the idea of being alone with you for a week. Well, don't get too distracted. We have a mission tomorrow and we need to be ready for anything. Of course, Naruto-kun. Hinata and Naruto were approaching the Hyuga gates. It has become custom for Naruto to walk Hinata home after their practice. And Hinata didn't mind the extra spending time at all. So I'll see you tomorrow, Hinata. Hi, have a good day, Naruto-kun. Flashing the young girl his grin, he began walking towards his own establishment. 1 week. Alone. With Naruto. I'm so happy. But at the same time, I'm scared out of my mind. Day before mission 7:18 p.m. The Hyugas sat down for dinner. It's know that it shows value and good manners when a family joins together for dinner. Hiashi sat at the head of the table, as he is heir. Both his daughters, Hinata and Hanabi, sat on both of his sides, while Niji sat on Hinata's right. The food was always prepared by their cook Sora, a Brankhouse woman. It was always formal. Gourmet food and fancy utensils formal. Polite manners were always expected. This was the traditional night in the Hyuga estate. Unless important matters led one of the members away. Hinata stared down at the exquisite meal before her. Sometimes taking a bit of it or two. It was readable to the Hyuga eyes that something was on her mind. Hinata, I have heard that you have received a mission, am I correct? Said girl was ripped from her daydreaming world by her father's impassive voice. She tried her best not to shudder under his cold gaze. Hi, I leave tomorrow. The Hyuga leader gave a slight nod. Signaling that he heard but was not all that interested. Not that surprised Hinata. Who will be accompanying you on your mission, Hinata-sama? A small and grateful smile rose on the girl's face. Thankful that someone did give a damn about her and not just her status. Naruto Uzumaki. An all-knowing look swept over Niji's eyes before he resumed eating. How long? 1 week. You must be looking forward to it. The bubblegum pink briefly shone on her cheeks before she ducked her head down. A soft hi mumbled out of her lips. As soon as it did, a very small smirk crept its way onto Niji's face, but soon faded when he heard Hanabi's voice. Why would Hinata look forward to a mission? I thought you hated missions, Wani-chan. The blush turned from a pink to a red. I don't hate missions. But you don't like them neither. So why would you like this one? The blush now went from a light red to a hot red. Well. My. Naruto and Hinata-sama are now training partners. It would only be logical that a ninja would be eager to test what they have learned with another ninja on the battlefield. To see if they have improved from the help of their partner. Hinata quickly gave Niji a very grateful, in your debt, look before nodding in agreement. Wait a minute, when did you get a new training partner, Wani-chan? I thought you only trained with that dog boy and bug guy. 2 weeks ago, and it's Kiba and Shino. Is he any good? The Hyuga teen looked at her younger sister with a soft expression. They weren't the closest of sisters. They didn't share their secrets with one another or stay up late talking to each other or show any sisterly affection towards the other. But they would take a genuine interest in each other's lives. Occasionally checking to see if the other was doing alright. They have a good relationship. Even when their father was testing them to see who make the better heiress. Birthright won out. Hinata was overjoyed when she found out that her sister not only was not bitter, but happy that she didn't have to do the dreaded job. Don't you remember when I first took the Chunin exams and lost to a blonde shinobi, Hanabi-sama? The youngest Hyuga gave a nod of acknowledgement to the prodigy's words. I lost to Naruto Uzumaki. The young girl's eyes widened in amazement. That's who you're training with, Wani-chan. The hot red blush returned to Hinata's face. Hi. Wow. When is it that you two will leave tomorrow, Hinata? Said girl gave a startled jump to the heir's voice. Surprised that he was showing interest in her life. 6:30 in the morning, sir. The head of the Hyugas was still for a moment. As if contemplating something in his head. Make sure to bring him over here before leaving. What? Hinata was having a hard time controlling the shocked look on her face. The Hyugas need a good and strong leader. I have to check to see if this training partner of yours lives up to standards. I have to make sure he is not wasting our time. Gripping her knees, Hinata tried her best to keep all her emotions in check. She was shocked, worried, scared and angry all at the same time. Shocked that her father told her to bring Naruto over so he could test him. Worried that the head of the clan would be too hard on her partner. Scared that the Hyuga heir might banish her from training with her love. Angry that her father only wants to meet her dear friend for political reasons. Not because he's important to her. Why is he doing this? Does he not want me to train with Naruto-kun? Well, I don't care. I don't care if he does think Naruto is unfit to train with the Hyuga heiress. I'll still train with him. I'll find a way. Hi. The rest of the dinner was eaten in silence. However, it was anything but quiet in Hinata's mind. A million thoughts ran through her head. But it would always return to one. How am I going to tell Naruto? 10:01 p.m. Pacing back and forth in her bedroom, a teenage girl tried to sort out her problems. This is bad. First I get a mission with Naruto. Alone. Then my father tells me to bring him over so he can test him. If worst comes to worst, Naruto will be banished from training with me and the mission will fail because I messed up, again. Exhaling loudly, Hinata stopped her pacing and plopped onto her bed. I need help. Turning her head towards her nightstand, she spotted her cream-colored phone. Picking it up, she began dialing the number to the one person that she knew would save her butt. Hello, the wonderful and beautiful Ino speaking. How may I help you? Ino, it's Hinata. Hinata. I sure hope you're calling to tell me that you did the third step. Well, not exactly. Hinata. It's been 2 weeks. How much longer do you intend to put this off? Screamed a thoroughly pissed off Ino. No, Ino, it won't be too much longer, shuddered the now frightened Hinata. I have to. What do you mean? Concern laced Ino's voice, hearing the depression in her friend's voice. My dad wants Naruto-kun to come over tomorrow before our mission. He found out that Naruto-kun is my training partner and he wants to see if he's good enough to train with the soon-to-be Harris of the Hyuga clan. What? Hinata had to hold the phone away from her ear so she wouldn't go deaf from Ino's screaming. It took a good 5 minutes before Ino was calm enough to start talking again. So your dad wants to test Naruto to see if he lives up to the Hyuga standard. Hi. And if he doesn't pass this test then he can't be your training partner anymore. Hi. And all before you have to go on a mission with him, alone. Hi. That sucks. I don't know what I'm going to do, Ino. How am I going to tell Naruto this? I feel so bad. He wouldn't even be in this mess if it wasn't for me. Stop right there, Hinata. You know that Naruto didn't have to be your training partner unless he wanted to. It was as much his decision as it was yours. Neither of you are to blame. Now you have to stay calm. Being a nervous, worried wart won't make Naruto feel any better about the situation. You're right. I just need to stay calm. Everything will be alright, Hinata. As much as I don't want to say it, Naruto's a good guy. He'll understand. And there's no way he'll stop being your training partner if he doesn't want to. He'll give his all, just like he always does, and pass. If there's one thing Naruto's good at, it's surprising people. If your father thinks he's no good now, just wait. Naruto will prove him wrong. A smile that could not be suppressed shone on Hinata's face. Thanks, Ino. I really appreciate everything you're doing for me. Oh, that's so cute. But you know I'm doing this because I really do believe in you. I believe in you too, Ino. I know. Why else would you be going through this crazy plan of mine? Laughing lightly at Ino's comment, Hinata could feel her nerves relax slightly. But how am I going to explain this all to Naruto? Easy, just ask him over like you were originally planning to. Then on the way, tell him that your father wants to see his capability as a ninja. Just tell him the truth. Honesty is a key component in any relationship. You don't want to destroy something that has only just barely began. Okay. I'll be honest with him. But enough of this talk about your father and his tests. I want to hear about this mission you have with Naruto. Where are you going? What rank? And most importantly, how long? We are going to the grass country. It's C ranked. We have 3 days to get there and back and 1 day there. 1 week, huh? And it's in the grass country. A place that has beautiful scenery, weather and landscapes. It's C ranked, which means that the mission isn't too difficult. Which in turn means that you two will have a lot of free time on your hands. Wow, I don't think I could have put together a more romantic mission myself. Ino. Muffled laughter could be heard through Hinata's earpiece. I'm sorry, Hinata. But you have to admit, being secluded to a beautiful place with your true love to fight off the enemies does sound a little fervent. Even over the phone, Ino knew that Hinata's cheeks were burning hot. Ino, you shouldn't say such things. Oh, lighten up, Hinata. Aren't you looking forward to this? Well, I'm a little afraid. Afraid of what? Afraid that I might mess up the mission. Hinata. How many times do we have to go over this? You're a great Kunoichi. The only thing that's holding you back is yourself. Find your confidence. I know it's there. And once you do, don't let go of it, okay? Okay. Good, now Hinata. There's one last piece of advice that I'm going to give to you before I go. Which is? Don't do anything I would do on the mission. Ino. The muffled laughter returned in the earpiece. I was just joking. Smiling into the phone, Hinata gave her final goodbyes to Ino. Good night, my pupil. Make sure to get plenty of rest. It's going to be one busy day for you tomorrow. Setting her cream-colored phone back on its receiver, the exhausted teen fell back onto her bed. No matter how much she knew she needed the rest, sleeping was going to be impossible. Her mind was just too overloaded. The annoying beeping sound from a nightstand alarm clock came to an abrupt halt by a slender pale hand. Tracing the hand upwards, past the arm, shoulder and neck, you would find the exhausted face of Hinata Hyuga. Her pale lavender eyes were wide open with faded dark circles underneath. Her usual pale and soft complexion was a bit dull. The dark indigo locks that fell across her pillow were just as disheveled as the sheets of her bed. A telltale sign that she had been tossing and turning throughout the night. It didn't take a genius to figure out the teenage girl did not have a good night's sleep. Pushing back her white lavender covers, the young woman stumbled out of bed. Sloppily walking over to her mirror, she took a look at the damage. I couldn't get any sleep last night. I just kept thinking about today and how awful it's going to be. Deciding that staring at her reflection would not improve her appearance, she turned to her closet to gather her clothes. Okay. So I got a half hour to get ready for the day. I packed last night so I don't have to worry about that. After I get dressed I'll go over to Naruto's apartment and wake him up. Try to explain the situation the best I can. Having every article of clothing in hand, Hinata began to walk down the hall towards the bathroom. This is going to be one long day. 5:01 a.m. The sun had still not risen. It was dark but not pitch black. It was more of a faded dark blue that continued to lighten. As if saying the day is about to approach. But even with the sun arriving, very few were awake to greet it. Most were still in bed. Among them was a teenage boy named Naruto Uzumaki. Sprawled out on his twin-sized bed, he appeared to be just as rowdy asleep as awake. His arms laid limp off the sides of the bed, as his legs were in a tangled mess with the sheets. Laying on his stomach, his unruly hair covered most of his face. There was a muffled snore from the pillow as well. Meaning he wasn't a quiet sleeper as well. A soft knock came from the front door. It echoed throughout the apartment. He didn't stir. The knocking repeated itself, slightly louder this time. But it still was not enough to gain the sleeping man's attention. A third time the sound returned, now added with a quiet Naruto-kun. Still nothing. The woman that was creating the noise glanced down at her wrist. Taking into notion that a good 5 minutes had passed, she decided that the situation required force. Something she was not used to. Hurling her hand into a fist, she began pounding the door. She continued doing it. Determined to rise up the boy. She didn't even hear the shuffling on the other side. Or the "I'm coming" comments. She did notice that there was no longer a door there. And in its place stood a grudgingly teenage boy clad in a shirt and boxers. "I said I was coming." "Oh. Hinata, it's you. What are you doing here? I thought we were supposed to meet at the gate. It's a little early, ain't it?" A very profound blush spread across Hinata's cheeks. Both from embarrassment and seeing Naruto in his Raymond boxers. Shifting her vision to her left, she tried to gather what courage and dignity she had left. "Ayano we were and I'm really sorry for this but." Hinata began to visibly tremble. She knew what she was going to ask is a lot. She didn't want to burden him, but at the same time, this had to be done. She's in inner turmoil. The once half-asleep Naruto became fully awake, seeing the state that Hinata is in. Naruto has always known that Hinata is a naturally shy and nervous person. But in the couple weeks that they have spent together, he has began to read her better. Now being able to separate the natural nervousness of Hinata from her petrified fear. And right now he could tell she was on the borderline of terrified. "Hey Hinata, it's alright. I'm not mad, just curious." Calming down her shivering body slightly, she kept in mind Ino's words. "Now, you have to stay calm. Being a nervous, worried wart won't make Naruto feel any better about the situation." "Ayano well I was wondering if could ask you something." "Go ahead Hinata. Ask me anything. I'm all ears. Naruto's a good guy. He'll understand." "Well. Naruto didn't have to be your training partner unless he wanted to. It was as much his decision as it was yours." "Yeah? Find your confidence. I know it's there. And once you do, don't let go of it." Drowning down all her fears and negative thoughts, she went in for the kill. "Would you come over to my house? My father's wants to meet you." The blonde shinobi's eyes widened and his face took on the expression of shock. Not quite sure how to react, he said the one thing he could think of. "Sure." Her eyes that were once tightly shut upon fear shot open. Realization dawned on her, as did a smile and a twinkle in her lavender orbs. "Really? Yeah. I'd love to meet your family." The smile on her face turned to frown. He didn't fully understand the situation. "Well, my father doesn't really want to meet you so much as test you." "Huh?" Taking in a deep breath, she began explaining the situation to him. Being truthful in everything that she said. Once she finished, an astounded Naruto stood in front of her. "So your dad wants to see if I'm a capable shinobi?" "Hi. And if I don't pass this thing that he wants me to do, then I can't train with you anymore." "Hi. Awesome." "Huh?" Now it was Hinata's turn to be thoroughly confused. "I always love a challenge. And to be able to prove that I'm worth something. To protect a friendship. I couldn't ask for anything better." Hinata just stood there. Trying her best to comprehend what Naruto said. It was such a bizarre reaction. "Just wait right here Hinata and I'll get my stuff." Naruto dashed off into his home. A bundle of energy just waiting to explode. It finally clicked into Hinata's mind what had just happened. She didn't know if she should be worried that Naruto isn't worrying or relieved that he took the news so lightly. She wasn't sure what she was going to expect when she told him, but it certainly wasn't this. Her eyes widened when Ino's words came into her head. If there's one thing Naruto's good at, it's surprising people. A smile crept onto the dark-haired beauty's face. She had just concluded that this reaction is so Naruto. 5:47 a.m. The Hyuga clan. A prestigious and powerful family. The household that contains the most well-sorted-out secret to Byakugan. The place where lineage and blood is everything. Where contracts and seals win out of love and kindness. Where political and ninja abilities counts. Where duties comes first. They are a clan. Not a family. Everyone knew this Konoha. For it is something that the Hyugas have always been. And the current head followed their tradition very well. So well that at one time he disowned his own daughter because he thought her weak and unfit for the name of heiress. It wasn't until she proved her worth multiple times on Higrink missions that he let her back in. And it took even longer for her to gain her rightful position back. The Ashi Hyuga is tough. And he takes pride in it. The clan is only as good as its leader. If that leader is weak in both mind and strength, then that clan will surely fall. He will not let that happen to his clan. Not now nor ever. It might seem cold-hearted and somewhat evil of him to do this to his own flesh and blood. But he has to do it for the good of the clan. Duty comes first, and Hinata needs to understand that. The Ashi-sama. Hinata-sama has returned with her new training partner, Naruto Uzumaki. The Ashi lifted his head from his paperwork to see his nephew Niji standing at the entrance to his office. The genius to the clan and sadly a branch house member as well. Very well, Niji. I will be there momentarily. Giving the head to the clan a slight bow, the prodigy left. Setting down his work for the moment, Hiashi stood up from his seat. It was time to evaluate the future of his clan. Wow, Hinata, this is where you live. It's amazing. Said girl tried her best to give the ramen-loving teen a nice smile. Hi. The Hyuga estate is amazing. Right at the moment they were both standing at the main area. The place that a lot of the Hyuga training occurred. From there you could spot many rooms and hallways. The entire place had a very traditional and conform feel to it. Naruto's eyes kept darting one way to other. Every part of the compound seemed the same, but there was so much of. He tried to take in the size and wealth the place emitted. Hinata watched Naruto. She would occasionally look down the hall her cousin had just ventured to. They had just arrived. Not even making it past the gate before Niji greeted them and left to inform her father of their arrival. A job that he had been given. On the outside the dark-haired girl seemed to be taking the situation relatively well. But on the inside, well, that's another story. I don't believe it. We've barely made it into the place and my father is already going to see him. Oh god. What have I done to deserve this? Boy. Wani-chan. Good morning. Realizing that she had been staring off into space, she embarrassedly greeted her sister back. Oh, Hanabi-chan. Good morning. Is this your new training partner, Naruto? Upon hearing his name, the blonde ninja turned his head in the direction of the voice. The owner was a young girl. Hyuga, no doubt, with the pale eyes. She looked younger than Hinata, but her tone of voice holds command. There wasn't a lot of physical similarities between the two girls. In fact, the aura that both of them emitted seemed to be quite different as well. Hi. Hanabi-chan, this is Naruto-kun. Naruto-kun, this is Hanabi, my younger sister. Hey. I'm Naruto Uzumaki. And I'm going to be the next Hokage. Believe it. The younger sister looked the ninja up and down. Taking his appearance in. Everything from the orange jumpsuit to that childish grin. So this is him, huh? It's hard to believe that this is the guy that beat Niji. He looks more like a joke than a deadly ninja. If I hadn't have already seen him fight, I would tell Wani-chan that she is wasting her time. Nice to meet you. As much as Hanabi wanted to make a comment about his statement and attire, she remembered to be formal. She had the Hyuga reputation to uphold even if she wasn't going to be the next leader. Besides, Wani-chan seems to like him enough to train with him. And he seems nice enough. Hinata let go of the breath she didn't know she was holding. Apparently she had been a little nervous about her sister meeting Naruto. Hanabi had a habit of picking out the bad things in friends and presenting them to Hinata. Hence the nicknames of Dog Boy and Bug Guy for Kiba and Shino. She's not an animal person. But Hanabi always had the decency to make fun of Hinata's friends, only in the presence of Hinata and Niji. Never making her rude comments in front of said person. Now Hinata could only imagine what nickname she would give Naruto behind his back. Hinata-sama. The dark-haired teen directed her line of vision towards her cousin who was walking towards them. Your father will be here shortly. That one state of relaxation came to an abrupt halt. Her father was coming. Her father was coming. I take it you already know about the predicament, Naruto? Niji carefully asked. Huh? Oh. You mean the thing about Hinata's dad sizing me up? Yeah, I know. Good. I would also advise you to address Hiashi-sama in the formal manner. What? It's not like I going to call him an old fart or something. Niji was about to give Hinata a sympathetic look when he caught the state that she was in. She's as white as ghost. I hope she doesn't faint. Naruto's mouth makes the situation bad enough. No need to make it worse. He was about to ask if she was alright but was interrupted by the loud-mouthed ninja. Hey Hinata. Is everything here so official? You should consider yourself lucky. Surprisingly, it was Hinata's sister who spoke. Just be glad you're not Hinata's boyfriend. When Niji started dating Tenten, she was watched for weeks before she even deemed adequate by father. This gathered three very different reactions. Naruto stood there wide-eyed in disbelief. Finding it hard to swallow that Hinata's father was so uptight. Niji glared daggers at the young girl. She was obliviously trying to embarrass him by bringing up a subject he most certainly did not want to relive. Hinata of course turned red from embarrassment. But surprisingly, she was openly frowning at her sister. I'm trying to get him to be my boyfriend Hanabi. And you're not helping. Hanabi just gave them all a sweet smile. The sound of footsteps caught the attention of all four. Facing in the sound's direction they saw a middle-aged man, dressed in formal robes, approaching them. Niji and Hanabi soon retreated to the side of the area, seeing Hiashi-sama. Hinata's heart was beating fast. It felt like it would jump out of her chest at any moment. Sweat was starting to pour down her neck, back and palms. It was like someone turned the temperature up 20 degrees. Her legs and soon her whole body began to shake. Her breathing became difficult. And would only come out in short pants. Oh my god. He's here. What do I do? What do I do? Hinata, aren't you going to introduce me to this boy? Naruto frowned upon hearing the boy part. But keeping in mind what Niji told him before, he decided to not make a comment. Hinata was failing at her attempts to calm her nerves. So when she spoke, it came out broken and shaken. Hi. Father tis is en na Naruto yu Uzumaki. Na Naruto thai this is my father hi Hiashi-sama. Hearing her poor attempt at a sentence and catching the anxiety in her aura, Naruto turned to look at his partner. She appeared to be on the verge of either fainting or being sick. Seeing her in such a state, he immediately grew worried. Forgetting about her father. Hey Hinata, you alright? Bearing her gaze away from the ground. She looked up into concern-filled, breathtaking beautiful blue eyes. Seeing that heartfelt expression on his face, her body began to shake less and her breathing slowed. Hi. Lifting his hand, he put it on Hinata's shoulder as a mean for comfort. Are you sure? She began smiling. His aura and presence had always given her confidence that she didn't know she had. And now was no different. Hi. Throughout this short interaction a pair of skillful and deadly eyes had been watching them. Hiashi had been a little aggravated at first that the boy had ignored him. It was rude to brush someone off that had an important status. But when he saw the boy show concern for his daughter and then her reaction to it, he became confused. In all the years he has watched over Hinata, he had never been able to get that kind of reaction from her. Whenever he talked or attempted to train her, she would only grow tense. She was always nervous, fidgety and uptight in his presence. But this boy. He was able to make her relax with just a few words and a mere gaze. It was a state he has never seen her in before. She even seemed to be more self-assured. Naruto Uzumaki. Hearing his name, he shot up to see Hinata's father looking right at him. Nervously scratching the back of his head, he gave an embarrassed grin. Oh, sorry about that, sir. I'm Naruto Uzumaki, Hinata's training partner. So I've heard. Taking glancing in between her crush and father, she prayed nothing would go bad. Naruto, why are you training with my daughter? Confusion laced over Naruto's face hearing the question. You should already know that she has weak and poor ninja abilities, so why are you wasting your time with her? She had been able to gain her title back. But old habits die hard. Hinata bowed her head down in defeat. But Naruto didn't notice. He was solely focused on the man before him. Angrily focused. What are you talking about? Hinata's an amazing ninja. She's not weak. She's kicked loads of butts. You're lucky to have her as a daughter. The dark-haired beauty's eyes widened in shock. Naruto-kun. Am I now? Of course. The blonde shinobi was standing in a defensive pose, eyes hardened. The older man's words got him riled up and his anger intensified hearing the man's next words. I do not know what you see in her. She is kind and gullible. Those are the traits of a weak ninja. Anyone who trusts her with their life would certainly meet their despise. And you are a fool if you think otherwise. A fool, huh? So what if I am? I'm going to be Hokage one day. And when that happens I'll refine the definition of a good ninja. No more of this sinister cold-hearted crap. Those who will follow me will be strong, good kind-hearted people who put the village and its people first. They will protect this place not because it's their job but because they want to. They will have just as much heart as they have courage. Just like Hinata. The tension between the two men was growing thick. You could practically see Naruto's frustrations and Hiashi's shrewdness clash in the air. So you think you'll be Hokage? I am going to be Hokage. Corrected the fuming teen. And you think my daughter is a good ninja? She is. And even if you're her father you have no right to say otherwise. Hiashi's glare hardened on the boy. Taking in his every word. He kept his cool and ignored the ignorant comment. But do you think she would make a good leader to this clan? What? The clan, or village, is only as good as its leader. Do you think she is good enough? Of course. Hinata would make a great leader. I'd follow her. Really? As I have stated before, Hinata has a kind, gentle soul. She would not have the heart to disciple those who need it. She will become a doormat. People will not take her seriously and they will just use her for their own needs. Why would you want to follow someone like her? Well, first off, who in their right mind would deceive someone like Hinata? Excuse me? You said it yourself that Hinata is a kind, good-hearted person. They would either have to be crazy or have no heart to do that sort of thing to her. Well, Uzumaki, they are people like that. I know. The adrenaline that had fiercely ran through Naruto's body was slowly dissipating. Yet the heart that he put into his words did not subside. That's why I'll protect her. Protect her? If anyone is foolish enough to betray Hinata when she is in power, then they'll have to answer to the highest of powers. The sixth Hokage. Naruto Uzumaki. The entire estate was silent. No one moved. No one even blinked. But Naruto continued his speech with one last vow. Me and Hinata will become great leaders together. We'll help each other achieve our dreams. Together we will make Konoha the most prominent of its time. The Ashi and Naruto's eyes were locked. Cerulean blue met hard cold white. No deception or desist escaped the blonde shinobi's eyes. Not even under the Hyuga's glare. The Hyuga leader came forward one step and then made a sharp turn. His back now facing the boy and his daughter. He began walking away but then stopped for a second to say. You both have 15 minutes before your departure. You're dismissed. And just like that, the man was gone. Hinata had not breathed for the whole argument. She heard every word. The words that Naruto had said. The emotion that they were coded in. It was too much. So with her emotions on overdrive and her lack of oxygen, she naturally hit the floor. Naruto was stunned. He had met Hinata's father. And he was nothing like Hinata. He was mean, cold-hearted and brutal. He couldn't help but call him out. And when he did, the man just simply walked away. The spell he was under finally broke when he heard a thump to his right. Snapping his head in that direction, he saw Hinata on the ground, passed out. Hinata. Rushing to the ground himself, he began checking her for injuries from the fall. Meanwhile, off on the sidelines stood a astonished Neji and a confused Hanabi. They had witnessed the whole battle of words. Neji, what was that? Neji looked down to his left to see bewildered Hyuga eyes looking up at him. I believe that was the test. I think Hiashi-sama has finally figured out that the best way for Hinata-sama to gain confidence is if someone believes in her. I think Hiashi-sama was testing Naruto on that as well as his loyalty to Hinata-sama. So it was a test on morals and faith, not brawn. Yes. And it appears that Naruto has passed. Well, that sucks. Neji's brows knotted in confusion and disappointment. I didn't get to see him fight. Realizing that she was disappointed about an unshown match rather than Naruto staying as Hinata's training partner, he allowed a small smile to show. HN. I'm going to eat breakfast. Are you coming, Neji? No, Hanabi-sama. I have already eaten. With a quick nod, the younger Hyuga walked out of sight. Neji let his eyes linger on the couple before him a little longer before leaving for training. Those two are going to be put through a lot. But I believe they just might be able to handle it. Fanfiction.net. Just in. Community. Forum. V. More. The Plan by BLONDI89. And I'm Naruto rated. T. English, Romance and Friendship, Hinata H. Ino Y. Words. 85k plus, favs. 244, follows. 154, published. July 3, 2007 updated. Jan 3, 2009. 310 Chapter 8. Step 4. Hey guys. Things are going great at my new place. I just decided to take a break from all the new and return to something I already know. So enjoy and review. A1 Nightfall. The first day of travel had passed. Naruto was putting up the tents while Hinata searched for wood. They needed a fire to cook their dinner. Their camp was set up several yards from the road. They were in one of the many forests of the Fire Country. A small stream was located nearby. They were making good time. There were no attacks or attempts to achieve the grass scroll. And the road to Kusagakure was bare. No travelers or merchants had been seen. So in the end it was just the two of them. A healthy blush rose on Hinata's cheeks as she remembered one of the many conversations they shared that day. Flashback. Ah. Come on, Hinata, tell me. The young girl bowed her head. Her dark bangs covering her blush as she continued walking alongside the boy. She gave no verbal response. I promise I won't tell. Please. Naruto pouted out his bottom lip as he gave the best puppy dog expression he could come up with. It made Hinata's heart melt. You promise? Stopping in his tracks, Naruto stood up straight, held his right hand over his heart with the other upright. I swear. A small smile graced Hinata's features. Alright, once when I was 5. Really? A small nod of the girl's head confirmed Naruto's suspicions. I knew it. I knew that Ice Popsicle had feelings. He always says that you should never let your emotions show. PTTF. Hypocrite. You're not going to tell anyone, are you? You promised. A small grin slipped onto Naruto's face as he looked at the girl next to him. Of course not. I made a promise, didn't I? And you know me, I never go back on my word. That blush of Hinata's returned to her face. But still, having information that the Neji cried in public is very tempting blackmail. But Naruto-kun, he was 6 and he sprained his ankle. Yeah, but he's Neji. You know how he is. Always training or lecturing to us about how to be a proper ninja. Never talks about his feelings or opens up to anyone. It's like he wears a mask or something. You can never tell what he's thinking. So to actually have proof that he's human is in itself amazing. They all know he's not that bad, Naruto-kun. He talks to Tenten. And thank God for that. I could have sworn I saw him smile the other day when they were walking in town. Hinata smiled as they continued their relaxed pace. For a long time I was afraid that Neji Nai-san would be consumed by hate. That he would only focus on his dislike towards our family and its rules and forget about life. That he would never find happiness. The Ramen lover listened intently to the young Kunoichi's words. They were soft-spoken, but they were steady. And without the stutter, he knew she was talking from the heart. But he's changed. Changed for the better. We can talk now. Talk like how family members are supposed to talk to each other. He spends time with his friends. Because he realizes that they are important. Important to him. He can still be withdrawn at points, but he's accepted his life. And now he's living it. Naruto looked Hinata over. Somewhere along the way they had stopped walking and were now standing in the middle of the path. Looking at her face, Naruto saw her glazed over lavender eyes. She was in her own world. And she somehow seemed to be at peace. HMPH. Snapping out of her world, she looked at Naruto. A heavy blush set itself on her cheeks, realizing that she had talked without the stutter. You know, Hinata. Looking up into his blue eyes, she felt her heart flutter at his soft expression. You're nothing like your father. She felt her heart sink at those words. Words she has heard since she was a child. And that's good. Both confusion and happiness swam in Hinata's soul. Your father said that your family needs a good, strong leader. She gave a small nod, not sure where he was going with this. Well, in a way I agree with him, but… Hinata's eyes widened when she heard him say the next line. I think what your family really needs is a mother. A mother? Sheepishly scratching the back of his head, an embarrassed yet very light blush crossed his face. Well, yeah. I mean, I never had a mother, but I assumed that a mother loves her child, right? That she would take care of them, be with them and do everything they could to see them happy. Well, when I was at your house the place was nice and all, but it seemed a little depressed. Depressed? Yeah. Like, as soon as you walked into the place you forgot how to smile. That with all that space it just made you feel empty. Alone. Do you know what I mean? Hinata knew exactly what he meant. For it was the feeling that she grew up with. That place was the cause for her childhood unhappiness, and she wanted to do everything in her power to kill that miserable aura the compound created. But I think a mother can fix that. I think you can fix that, Hinata. I think you can make that compound into a home. Blushing and fighting hard not to poke her fingers together, Hinata questioned Naruto's reasoning. But Naruto-kun, we're, the Hyugas, aren't Kano as a F family but a C clan. Yeah. But everyone needs family. Even if they're not blood or don't get along that well. And everyone needs a place to call home. And it's always better if there's someone there that wants you. Hinata could not disagree with his logic. Both of them were painfully aware of how true the statement was. Each in their own way. But we are still a clan. Yeah, and you'll be one kick-ass leader to it too. The dark-haired beauty stood in shock. It had been one of those few times that Naruto had actually held a serious expression. Do you remember what I told your father, right? That how you're not weak and that we'll become great leaders together. With a small shake of her head the blonde continued. Well, I meant it. In the end you lead not only the strongest clan in Konoha's history, but one that actually knows how to smile. It took all her willpower not to faint twice that day. Present. Adjusting the wood underneath her arms, Hinata began walking back towards the campsite. He believes in me. Naruto actually believes in me. She tried not to sound too much like a fangirl as she let a small squeal of excitement escape her lips. He even defended me against my father. My father. Voicing out her opinions and ideas has always been one of Hinata's greatest fears. And that fear amplified in the presence of her father. So to see someone stand up to him. To not only say what they feel but to go against her father's ideas is mind-blowing. That's Naruto-kun. Walking into the campsite area, she could see Naruto struggling with one of the tents. The other one was clumsily put together. Hinata had to bit back a giggle at seeing his fatal attempts at putting up something simple like a tent. He could be confusing at times. At one moment he could astound you with his heartfelt words and bold actions, and the next, well, let's just say he would appear to be more simple-minded. Naruto-kun, do you need any help? The blonde head peered out from under the mess of ropes and sheets. No. I got it. Hinata gave him one of her sweet smiles. He always thinks he can do everything on his own. Thinking back on the 2 weeks of training, plus all the years before that, her thought became even truer. He still thinks he has to prove himself to everyone. But he doesn't need to. Doesn't he know that? Dropping the wood onto the forest floor, she began thinking of her own worth and how she had to fight for it as well. Maybe we are more alike than I thought. There. All done. Looking up, Hinata saw Naruto standing before two misshapen yet standing tense. He had a triumph grin on his face as if saying, yeah, I know I'm good. But just as Hinata was about to congratulate him, both tents came crushing down into a heap. Damn it. Aggravated, Naruto began his work again. A2 sunrise. Sunlight poured into the tent opening and onto a young girl's face. As soon as it did, pale lavender eyes slowly blinked open. With a quiet yawn and stretch of the back, she sat upright. After some persuading, Naruto had let Hinata help him set up the tents last night. And thankfully, she was not woken up by a tent collapsing onto her. Pulling back the covers, the indigo-haired girl walked out of tent and into the cool crisp morning air. She shivered from the brisk coolness. Wrapping her hands around her almost bare arms, she took a look at her surroundings. Everything was as it was when she went to bed last night. She did not detect any danger. Judging from the day before, she figured that Naruto is not a morning person. So she took the liberty of cooking them breakfast. As she began stoking the fire, her thoughts turned towards Naruto and the plan that she's going though for him. Personal. I have to share something personal with him. But what? That's what she's supposed to do next. Share a personal memory or thought with Naruto. Its point was that Naruto in return would share something personal with her. But will he? The close friend would feel comfortable and safe around you. They would feel no need to put up their defenses with only you around. They would tell you what they thought and felt about different things. They would show their true self to you. I'm his friend. That much I know. But am I a close friend? Would he show me his true colors? She prayed that he would. A2 noon. Hey Hinata, how far are we? Glancing down at the map in her hands, she kept her pace with the boy next to her. We are about 20 kilometers from the border, so we should get there by tomorrow afternoon. Oh man. This is boring. I thought we might get a little action. Hinata allowed a small smile to show on her face. Naruto was getting a little antsy and impatient with nothing to do but walk. Just like a child. Hey Hinata, have you ever been to the Grass County? A C couple times for escort and delivery missions. Have you? I was there for a couple of months for training. Persig made me practice some Charka control exercises. Oh really? Yeah. But I never really got the hang of it. Charka control really isn't my thing. Hinata gave a slight nod, knowing that Charka control isn't really her forte either. But it was still cool. When that hermit wasn't out doing his research, we would check out the area. People weren't all that friendly as they are at home, but it had a lot of nice scenery. Hinata took in all his words with trust. Not wanting the conversation to end, she posed a question. Do you have a favorite place from your travels? Lifting his hand to place underneath his chin, he shut his eyes and stuck a thinking pose. It was adorable. Well, I would have to say Konoha. There's a lot of great places out there and all, but nothing beats home. Hinata had to agree with him there. She didn't particularly like her home, but she loved Konoha and the people in it. It's where she spent her childhood, made her first real friends and met her first love. Nothing could beat that place. I'm still kind of sad that I missed 2.5 years with you guys though. I was so surprised at how everyone changed that it made me a little depressed that I wasn't there to witness any of it. But you changed as well. Cracking open his famous grin, Naruto replied. Yeah. I did, didn't I? Both sharing similar smiles, they continued walking on in a comfortable silence. A2 afternoon. Come on Hinata, think of something. It had been about 2 hours since their last conversation. This is the perfect chance to complete step 4. No one's around. It's just us in the road. Of course, thinking something and actually doing it is two different things. But what do I talk about? There are plenty of secrets that I haven't shared with anyone, but what one do I share? This was a win-lose situation. On one hand, she could reveal something about herself that he could totally sympathize with and maybe even share a secret with her. On the other hand, she could totally embarrass herself by sharing something with him that he either doesn't get or finds really weird. What do I do? Hey Hinata, you mind if we take a break? My feet are killing me. Sure. Taking off their packs, they started to sit down on the grass when Hinata noticed a tear on Naruto's jacket. Naruto-kun. You're bleeding. Huh? Turning his head to look down towards his right bicep, he noticed a long but shallow cut. Oh yeah, I guess I am. Must have been one of the tree branches. Putting all shyness aside, Hinata's motherly instincts kicked in. Here Naruto-kun, let me bandage it for you. Turning his head in the direction of her voice, Naruto noticed Hinata pulling out bandages and medical cream from her sack. Oh no Hinata. You don't need to do that. I don't mind. Besides, we can't let it get infected. Smiling at her kindness, Naruto let Hinata do her handiwork. Hinata tried not to blush too hard when Naruto's jacket slipped off to reveal his tight black shirt, outlining his every muscle. Keeping in mind to be a professional, she began cleaning his cut. "Hey Hinata. Why didn't you become a medical ninja like Sakura? You always struck me as the kind of person that wanted to help people." A depressing hollow feeling entered Hinata's soul upon hearing the one subject that brought her great sadness. "I do want to help people, Naruto-kun. But my father says medicine is a waste of time." Understanding filled Naruto's heart. "Oh. But I still make my salves." A small yet genuine smile crossed Hinata's face as she replayed a memory. "Kurenai-sensei once gave me a book on different medical herbs and remedies. It really helped." Naruto took in her softened peaceful expression. He was beginning to notice that she looked that way whenever she talked about someone she truly cared for. It made him think, what does she look like when she talks about me? When she gave me that book she told me to never give up. That I shouldn't let anything stop me from living for my dreams. She's a smart woman. Smiling, she began wrapping Naruto's wound. She is. She's also strong, kind and beautiful. I don't remember my real mother. But if I had to imagine, I would imagine her to be just like Kurenai-sensei. Strong, intelligent and powerful. Yet kind and loving at the same time. Ripping off part of the wrap, she taped the bandage into place. "For the longest time I wanted to be just like her, I still do." Curving his lips into a sincere smile, he looked down into Hinata's pale eyes. "Don't worry Hinata. You already are." Hinata's breath caught in her throat. Did he really just say that? She didn't have time to ponder the question though, as a kunai sliced itself in between the two to pierce into the ground behind them. As if on reflex, both ninjas stood up into a fighting stance. Right in front of them were three bandits. Day 2. Nightfall. The sun began to die down, displaying a lovely hue of pink and orange as it faded away. The crowded streets of Konoha were no more. Loved ones were returning to their families. Among them was a young teenage girl, locking the door to the closed Yamanaka flower shop. "Thank God the day is over." Slipping the metal key into her back pouch, the kunoichi began a tired pace down the road. Her usual chipper attitude had been worn down from the long day's work. She did not suppress the yawn that risen in her throat. "Why does dad always have to give me the night shifts on the weekends? I bet he thinks that if I worked, then I wouldn't be able to go out dating." Ino let out a snort of amusement at the thought. "Yeah, like that would work. Lee, look, I told you before, I'm sorry. But Sakura-chan." "Lee? No." Hearing the names and voices of her comrades, Ino turned to the alleyway at her right. Her rival Sakura Haruno stood before a crestfallen Rock Lee. "I bet he asked her out on another date." "Please Sakura-chan, just one date." "Oh, I'm good." Lee's unusually round eyes were lit up with hope as he looked up to the girl of his dreams. A small frown etched its way onto her usual perfect features. Her own eyes were glazed over in remorse. "I'm sorry Lee. I just can't." Shaking her blonde head, Ino watched as Lee got shot down again. "Sorry Lee, but Sakura just can't get over Sasuke." Taking one last glance at her pained friends, she turned the corner onto her street. "But I hope she does." Day 3 sunrise. The once clean path was in utter filth. Dried blood coated the grass. The trees were adored with dents and scratches. Large craters were bestowed into the ground. Broken, sharp metal instruments laid scarce across the land. The path had been a battlefield. The battlers were not there. "Where am I?" The young girl slowly blinked her eyes open. Her mind fuzzy as she succumbed to the day. What happened? She was 50 yards away from the battle zone. Yet with her injuries and chakra depletion, it was something she could not find out on her own. The bandits, Naruto-kun. But that single thought she shot upright. Only to come back down in pain. Cursing under her breath, she looked down to two long gashes on her torso and right shoulder. They were wrapped in bandages and her blood was already staining it. How did I get these? The memory of the night before played itself in Hinata's mind. Flashback. They wanted the scroll. That much was clear. Every chance that they got, they would grab for Hinata's pack. How they figured out it was there was beyond them. Twisting her body at the last second, Hinata barely dodged the enemy's sword. They had been going at this for a while. Both Naruto and Hinata were reaching their limit, yet the three men before them waged on. They were more experienced and seemed to know just what were Hinata's and Naruto's weaknesses. It all seemed hopeless. "Give us the scroll." The more muscular man of the group said those words. His voice was laced with venom as his icily stared down the two teens. "You can't have it." Naruto began running at full speed towards the leader. Ready to give his all. The man just smirked. "So be it." With incredible speed the bandit disappeared, only to reappear at Hinata's side. Naruto stopped in his tracks when he heard a blood-curdling scream. The scream of Hinata's. Quickly doing a double take, he saw Hinata drop to her knees. Her left hand pressed against her bloody right shoulder. A cut that he had made. Hinata. Frightened and concerned for his friend's safety, he began running towards the duo. He only made it a few steps before he was blocked off by the two other bandits. The leader glared down at the young girl. Hate and despair filled those eyes. It took all Hinata had to not shiver from the mere coldness he emitted. "Give it to me, girl." Slightly shaking from both fear and pain, she shook her head no. He curled his lip in disgust. "I won't give up. Not now, not ever." Wasting no time, he lifted his long sword and brought it down on the young Kunoichi. A millisecond before the attack could be laid, she moved. But the sickening sound of metal slicing though flesh was still heard. Blood began to flow freely. Hinata. Hinata could barely hear her love's voice as she collapsed to the ground. Her vision began to get blurry and her body felt heavy. As she drifted off into darkness, red charca was all that was visible. Present. I blacked out. Hinata's heart began to beat quickly. Panic arose in her when she had a thought. What happened to Naruto-kun? She began wildly looking around, searching for any signs of her partner. The idea of losing him did not settle well. Finally she spotted a hunched figure not too far ahead. Their back was turned towards her, but the orange jacket gave away who it was. Hinata gave a sigh of relief. Naruto is alive. She forced herself to stand, despite the pain it caused. She was determined to see him and if he was alright. As she began drawing nearer to him, she could hear his voice softly chant the same sentence, again and again. Just like last time. I promise. Never again. Hinata's eyebrows knotted in confusion. Why was he saying that? Just what is he thinking about? Creeping, ever. She should have known from his posture something was wrong. But his face confirmed it. His eyes, which had once shown such happiness and joy, were completely dull. His lips were forced into a frown. The numbness of his expression threw Hinata off. This was not a Naruto-kun. Naruto-kun. Lifting his eyes, that were void of any emotion, he gazed at Hinata. The lifelessness in him put her at unease. Hinata. That had to have been the softest she had ever heard her name said. Naruto-kun, what happened? There was an uncomfortable silence between the two. Naruto stared off into the distance as Hinata looked onto him with concern. He happened. This answer brought even more confusion to the young girl. Is he? Another silence filled the air, disrupted by Naruto's raspy voice. I swore never to use him again. Never use his power. But I did. Hinata waited patiently, knowing that this would all make sense soon. I don't know what happened. But when I saw you fall. I thought that you might be dead. I just couldn't handle it. My anger. Drawing in his words, Hinata thought back to what happened before she fell unconscious. She remembered seeing red charca. Her eyes widened in realization. You used the nine-tails charca. Naruto's head bowed in shame. It made Hinata regret her words. I promised never to use it after what happened last time. Hinata, along with all of Naruto's friends, had learned the truth about the Kyuubi being sealed into Naruto. They accepted it. They didn't accept the demon but Naruto and the heavy burden that he held. If anything, the bonds between the 12 teenagers grew stronger. But this last time, she didn't know what he was talking about. Last time? The Ramen lover began to shift as if he was uncomfortable. I never told anyone but I used the Kyuubi's power against Sasuke. Hinata stood frozen. She was beyond shocked. No one had known exactly what had happened when Naruto went to retrieve Sasuke last year. The two boys had been separated from their groups and without a doubt did combat with each other. But she had no idea Naruto had went to that length. It seems that Naruto's hold of the nine-tails power had lessened over the years. Each time the demon's charca was used, the more in danger people around became. Those bandits were probably dead now. I promised Sakura-chan that I would bring him back. I don't go back on my word. Hands clutched in self-anger. But I did. I didn't bring Sasuke back and I used the nine-tails charca. I'm such a hypocrite. The dark-haired beauty took a step back as Naruto shouted those words in agony. But as soon as his anger boiled up, it cooled down into a deep depression. Hinata wanted to do nothing more than comfort and console him. But her words were failing her. I guess I really am a failure. This statement caught Hinata's courage. No, Naruto-kun. You're not a failure. Yes, I am. I couldn't bring Sasuke back. The Hyuga heiress watched as sorrow consumed the blonde. She didn't want this to happen to him. To be buried in guilt and sadness. It's for the good of the village. That's the last thing that he said to me. The good of the village. Hinata never personally knew Sasuke, but that didn't seem like something he would say. Why would the traitor of their village want to do something good for it? The guy betrays his village, attacks his friends, kills his brother, and he says something like that. The shinobi gave a snort of annoyance. The bastard. Hinata was only half listening. She was trying to process all the information. Why did he say that, Naruto-kun? The aggravated scowl of his face disappeared and a serious one took its place. He said that if he went back there would be war. Pale lavender eyes grew into huge saucers. War? Kabuto is still looking on, getting his revenge on Sasuke for killing Orochimaru. Sasuke said that he was gathering an army that was potentially stronger than Orochimaru's. He'll destroy anything that stops him from killing Sasuke, even an entire village. Shock and fear overshook Hinata's form. Stronger than Orochimaru. An entire village. The picture formed itself in Hinata's mind. It was the memory of Kabuto confronting Naruto, Yamato and herself during the Sasuke retrieval mission. Making both Orochimaru's death and his own schemes of revenge all too apparent. She remembered how that dark energy, Orochimaru's power, was encased inside Kabuto. How both Kabuto's and Orochimaru's power had been morphed together to create. She didn't know what to at him. The dark-haired teen gave a visible tremble to the memory. The only good that came from that incident was that Kabuto gave them a book that contained all of Orochimaru's findings on the Akatsuki organization. It was because of that book the Leaf was able to put an end to that evil corporation. It was because of that Naruto did not have a group of ranked criminals after him anymore. I told Tsunade-sama about it. Hinata was snapped out of her thoughts by Naruto's voice. It sounded so odd to hear him address the older woman so formally. She said that it would be for the best if Sasuke stayed out of the village for the time being. It would only cause problems if he returned. Naruto clenched his fists into a tight ball. His emotions were getting the better of him again. I knew she was right, but I didn't want to admit it. I didn't want to admit defeat. His words were growing harsher, more abrasive. A self-loathing scowl appeared on his features, as did a coldness in his eyes. The look took Hinata aback. I had went though so much. Raising his fist into the air, he began to violently pound the tree beside him. Hinata stood there, astounded, as Naruto caused himself physical pain. I trained every day. I would work until my hands bled. I worked until I would collapse. Punch after punch, word after word, everything grew with fury. I pushed myself to limit. Every day. For 3 years. Bark threw off the tree in large chunks. And for what? So it could all go to waste. So I could break a promise. One final hard punch was thrown at the innocent tree. Naruto stared intently at the tree. His hands were bleeding and his breaths came out ragged. So I could lose a friend. But that soft-spoken sentence, Naruto collapsed onto the ground. Hinata broke from her daze to rush over to the poor boy. He was shaking violently and his breathing was becoming even more uncontrolled. He's crying. Naruto-kun. Hinata knelt down and sat herself next to Naruto. She didn't speak. She knew this was one of those times where you just had to let everything out. The emotions, thoughts, feelings, everything. I never wanted any of this to ever happen. I didn't want to be the carrier of a demon. I didn't want to have to break my promise to Sakura-chan. I didn't want to lose Sasuke. The words came out broken and in between sobs, but Hinata understood them. But it happened. All of it. Hinata's chest hurt. She was feeling his pain. What kind of person gives up on their friend? Naruto lifted his head. Hinata could now see his tears flow freely. I'm a lousy human being. No, Naruto-kun, you're not. Naruto's saddened face turned towards Hinata's determined one. She would not let him think this way about himself. Yes, I am. The dark-haired beauty shook her head no. You're a great person, Naruto-kun. Naruto gave her "Are you off your knocker" look. How can you say that, Hinata? Yes, Naruto-kun, I did. Then why would you tell me I'm a great person? It's obvious that I'm not. No great person would go back on their word and forget about a friend. That's just unforgivable. But Naruto-kun, you had good reason. If you did bring Sasuke back, just think about what would have happened. There could have been war. A lot of innocent lives could have been killed. You did the right thing. Yeah, maybe. But that still doesn't change the fact that I broke my word to Sakura-chan. Everyone makes mistakes, Naruto-kun. It's part of being human. And I'm sure Sakura has forgiven you. She's still your friend, right? With a small genuine smile, Naruto began slipping out of his depressed mood. Yeah, she still is. But I know she still misses him. Even if she doesn't admit it. Hinata gave a small frown to this news, but soon replaced it with a smile of faith. Don't worry. She's strong, I'm sure she'll get over him. The tears had been dried away and Naruto's grin kept growing. Yeah. You're right, Hinata. Man. I got to stop getting so worked up over everything. I'll never become a good Hokage if I keep acting like this. The blonde shinobi let out a deep laugh at his own words. Hinata gave him a content smile and along with it, a bold action. Well, for her at least. Using her good arm, she placed a comforting hand on Naruto's bigger, bloodier one. The ramen lover stopped laughing after the contact. You'll make a great Hokage, Naruto-kun. Those words would forever stay with Naruto. Chapter 10. A Gem in the Mud. The mission was a success. Both Naruto and Hinata had been able to make it to Kusagakure, despite the Kunoichi's condition. Soon after they had delivered the scroll to the feudal lord, they went to seek medical help in the village. They were able to achieve some ointments and wrappings, but nothing that would effectively help the girl. Their only choice was to head back to Konoha as fast as possible. Hinata had both the privilege and the embarrassment to ride on Naruto's back as he hightailed it back towards the village. The boy could have beat both Guy-sensei and Lee's record with that kind of speed. The dark-haired beauty had repeatedly told him that you don't have to go so fast, but he would hear nothing of it. As soon as they had arrived, Naruto trekked all the way up to the Hokage's office, with Hinata still on his back, and demanded that Hinata's medical needs be seen to immediately. This more than aggravated the legendary Sannin. But being the medical ninja at heart, she decided to see to the young girl rather than pound the young man into the floor. So here Hinata sat. On a long clean white bed in a room of the Konoha hospital. Where Tsunade stood right beside her, placing her healing hand on Hinata's right shoulder. So Hinata, how did you receive this wound? The young heiress was snapped out of her thoughts by the Hokage's strict yet comforting voice. Bandits. The Hokage gave a firm nod in response to the young woman. How many? 3. Were they strong? Hi. The older woman's gaze hardened for a brief second. Did you and Naruto defeat them? The dark-haired girl shifted uncomfortably. She avoided the medical genius's eyes. Naruto-kun did. Tsunade hearing had strained in order to catch what the young girl had said. Sensing both Hinata's uneasiness and guilt, the Hokage decided to leave the status of the mission at that. Besides, Shizune can get all the details out of Naruto back at the office. The Sannin gave a small smile to the thought. She hated her job. At least the part that dealt with paperwork and mission reports. The less work she had to do, the better off everyone was. Alright Hinata, I've closed up your wounds. Use this ointment for the next couple days to heal the scars. Make sure to apply it twice a day. Said girl turned to her right to see the 5th Hokage handing her a small jar. Hi Tsunade-sama. Zipping up her jacket, Hinata took the jar from the woman. A small smile reached Hinata's face. Not only could she recognize the ointment and its uses, but she also knew what herbs were put into. Just as the dark-haired girl was about to leave, she was stopped by the Hokage's voice. Oh, and Hinata. The Hyuga heiress turned around to see Tsunade giving her a devious smile. It was added with a sly wink as she said. Make sure to take it easy when you and Naruto train again. The Hokage had to bit back a laugh as she saw the young girl clumsily stumble out of the room. That girl has got it bad. Hinata was walking down the hallway towards the main desk. The heavy blush from Tsunade's earlier comment and wink still adored her cheeks. I can't believe I've been so obvious. The Hokage even knew. Excuse me, can you tell what room Choji Akimichi is in? The indigo-haired teen was snapped out of her thoughts by a familiar voice. Ino? Sure enough, the young woman before her was Ino Yamanaka. She was standing before the main receptionist with a worried frown creasing her features. Room 213. It's on the 2nd floor, west side. Thank you. The blonde-haired girl began her quick pace towards the direction in which the receptionist had pointed. The hallway that Hinata had been walking down. Hinata put on a kind smile and was about to raise her hand in a friendly wave. That was until Ino had hurriedly passed her. The dark-haired girl stood in stock. She didn't see me. The Hyuga girl turned around to see Ino practically jogging towards the staircase entrance. That's not like Ino. Ino has always been keen to her surroundings. She always seems to recognize things that people had yet pick up on. So for her to miss seeing a friend that was standing right in front of her. Something's wrong. The frown that Ino had worn, the worry that had filled her eyes, Hinata had seen it all. And then the knowledge of Choji being here at the hospital hit Hinata. Concerned for both of her friends, the dark-haired girl began following the blonde Kunoichi. Room 213. Hinata had reached her destination. Winded by the mild run up the stairs, she tried to catch her breath. Apparently Ino has been training. It even took Hinata's blood limit to not lose track of the speedy young woman. Finally regaining her composure, Hinata ever so silently turned the doorknob to room 213. Seeing as how Ino was already in the room, she didn't want to interrupt anything important. So, it was better to first take a peek. Cracking open the door by the very slightest, the Hyuga heiress peered into the corridor. She saw a large man with circular tattoos on each of his cheeks sitting upright in a clean white bed. A slim young girl with very light blonde hair sat in a chair by his side. Is it serious? Asked the young girl. No, replied the bulky man, just a few cuts and broken bones. Some good food and I'll be fine in no time. The blonde gave a sigh of relief. To visually add to the relief she felt, she put on hand over her heart and fell back into her chair. Thank God. The hefty young man gave a low chuckle to the act that was displayed to him. What? Taoji stopped his amused laughter to see a confused and slightly irritated Ino staring back at him. I just didn't know that you cared so much, Ino. Ino gave a very faint blush in embarrassment. The amused grin on Chaoji's face grew. Shut up. At once deep laughter of Chaoji's returned. Enjoying the show are we? Hinata snapped her head around to see a smirking Shikamaru behind her. Shikamaru? I was just you see. She was cut off by Shikamaru's hand, gesturing her to stop. Save it. I won't tell them you were spying on them. Hinata let out a breath of relief. She tried to calm down her racing heart. Being caught in the act can really make the adrenaline pump through your veins. She opened her closed eyes to see Shikamaru sitting down next to the door. He laid his back against the wall and patted the spot next to him. You might as well sit down. That troublesome woman can take forever. The dark-haired woman compiled with a lazy teen. Sitting herself next to Shikamaru, questions began to run through her mind. Mainly questions about the conversation she had just witnessed and the way Ino had acted before it. The young man with the spiky ponytail closed his eyes and let his head fall back to rest on the wall. He appeared to be sleeping, but he had not been that tired for years. Ino seemed so different. I mean, she usually cares about her friends a great deal and all, but it was like she wasn't even here. Like her whole mind was set on seeing Chaoji and if he was alright. Not only that, but when she asked him that question, she didn't sound like her normal self. She's usually so strong and confident, but then she had sounded scared and vulnerable. Why did she act like that? Why did she sound like that? Hinata's brows creased in confusion. Then it hit her. Her eyes bulged and she gasped in disbelief. No. She couldn't, I mean it's Ino. She couldn't possibly. So you finally figured it out, huh? The young woman turned her head to see Shikamaru's lazy gaze fixated on her. If possible, Hinata's eyes grew even wider. The lazy genius just gave her a small smirk. Yeah. She's liked him for a while. Hinata gaped at the young man before her in disbelief. Ino likes Chaoji? Like. But how? As if reading her mind, Shikamaru answered her question. Love is blind. It doesn't matter who you are, you will always fall victim to it. I thought that if anyone would understand that it would be you. The very rosy blush graced Hinata's features due to Shikamaru's indirect comment. But the genius ignored Hinata's embarrassment and continued to speak. Now if only Ino would understand that. Hinata's head tilted to the side in confusion. What do you mean? The dark-haired man gave a glance at the girl beside him. She doesn't know. Shock once again took its hold onto Hinata. You mean? Shikamaru gave a tired nod in reply. Exactly. The conversation was brought to halt when the door to room 213 abruptly opened and Ino came into view. The blonde teen had a more than shocked look on her face when she saw not only Shikamaru but Hinata as well sitting outside the room. Hinata. What are you doing here? I thought you were still on your mission with Naruto. Said girl got onto her feet. I just got back. Hinata was immediately wrapped into a fierce yet friendly hug. Hinata gave a wince, still a little sore from her previous injuries. Ino jumped back from the embrace as soon as she felt her friend grow tense. Oh my god, Hinata. Are you alright? Were you injured? Hi, but I've been taken care of. We were ambushed during the trip. Ino's blue eyes widened in both awe and curiosity. Ambushed? You have got to tell me everything. Hinata didn't even have time to reply as Ino began dragging her out of the hallway. The dark-haired girl gave one last look at room 213 and the boy sitting outside of it. The information that she had just learned still burned within her mind. Ino likes Chaoji. Ino likes Chaoji, and she doesn't even know it. Shikamaru watched as the two girls turned the corner and vanished from sight. Taking a deep breath, he gathered himself from the floor to see his best friend. Shaking his head, he uttered his usual phrase before entering the room. Troublesome. Bye, Hinata. Make sure to take it easy. Don't worry, Ino. I will. Hinata gave one final wave to her blonde friend before setting her path for her own home. Ino had taken her to Café Lawrence, sat her down, and practically dragged out every little piece of information that she could get out of Hinata. Ino could make one hell of an interrogator. The Hyuga heiress hummed quietly to herself. There was a skip to her step. Despite her sore, tired body, everything seemed to be going her way. That was until she collided with another person, sending her flying backwards onto her butt. Oh. The dark-haired girl groaned. There was now a new bruise to add to the ones that she got from the mission. Looking up, she saw Sakura Haruno standing before her. Oh my gosh, Hinata. Are you alright? The pink-haired girl extended her arm to help her friend off the ground. Hinata graciously accepted. Hi. I should have watched where I was going. No, I shouldn't have been standing out in the middle of the street like that. Hinata gave a kind smile to her friend, but it seemed like Sakura wasn't seeing it. Her eyes were glazed over with a far-off look in them. It seemed like everyone was in their own world today. Sakura. Said girl turned her blank expression towards her fellow comrade. Are you alright? The medical ninja took a moment before slowly nodding in answer to Hinata's question. It was quite clear to Hinata that she wasn't alright. Are you sure? Sakura looked at the young woman before her. She did not want to tell her the real reason why her mind was preoccupied on other things. So, she gave Hinata the most reassuring smile she could muster. Of course. The smile did not fool Hinata. She knew when one of her friends were upset and Sakura was upset. But she decided not to pry. Okay. Making in silent agreement, they began walking together down the street. Hinata risked a glance at the pink-haired girl beside her. She still had that glossy look in her emerald eyes. What could she possibly be thinking of? She has seen that look before. Very recently, in fact. Where has she seen that look before? Of course. It was the same look Naruto had before he revealed his regret for never being able to bring Sasuke back. Could Sakura be thinking the same thing? But I know she still misses him. Even if she doesn't admit it. That's right. Naruto had said that. Hinata sneaked another look at Sakura. She was still out of it. She's still not over him. Hinata knew something about first love. She knew how strong those feelings could be. How you couldn't go 1 minute out of the day without thinking about him. How your heart would start beating faster whenever he was nearby. How your breath would get caught in your throat whenever he turned those dazzling eyes in your direction. How you would wish within all of your heart that he would just notice you. If only a little. Yeah, she knows what it's like. But she also knows what change is like. How it can bear down onto you, just waiting for you to break. She knows not to break. She's learned the hard way. She knows that if you don't accept the change and adjust to it, then you can never be happy. It's better to go forward than backwards. And it's time Sakura knew that. Gathering up her newfound courage, Hinata grabbed Sakura's arm and began gently leading her into the nearby forest. Hinata. What are you doing? The dark-haired girl gave her friend a kind smile. I want to take you somewhere. The delicate pink eyebrow raised in question. Oh, and where would that be? My favorite place. Confusion deepened in Sakura's eyes. Your favorite place? A gentle nod answered Sakura's question. Sighing, Sakura decided to go along for the ride. Might as well. I got nothing better to do today. A couple minutes later they had reached Hinata's favorite place. Sakura's face contorted in a mixture of confusion and disgust. Hinata had taken her to a stream. A very muddy, very narrow stream. This is your favorite place? Sakura pointed at the pitiful stream in utter disbelief. Hinata just gave a content smile. Hi. I discovered it a couple of years ago. You're the only one that knows about it. Oh really? Sakura was trying her best not to show how strange she thought Hinata was acting. Why the heck would anyone want to come here? I was training when I found it. The medical ninja was snapped out of thoughts by Hinata's voice. I was practicing with my Byakugan. I was trying to expand my vision to locate smaller objects. That's when I stumbled onto this creek and its secret. Secret? Hinata gave a small smile at Sakura's heightened curiosity. Instead of telling her about the small stream's secret she decided to show her. The pink-haired young woman watched as the girl before her walked over to the small creek. The dark-haired girl paid no attention to the mud that piling onto her shoes. She bent down and dipped her hands into the muddy water. Sakura watched with curiosity. What is she doing? Hinata began walking back over to Sakura. Both of her hands cupped each other, hiding whatever she held from view. Hold out your hand, Sakura. Huh? Hinata shot her friend a genuine smile. Trust me. Putting aside her questionable judgment, Sakura decided to trust her friend. She immediately regretted it. Hinata had just dumped a bunch of muddy pebbles into her hand. Hinata. Sakura was about to drop the muddy pebbles to clean off her hand, but Hinata stopped her. Wait, Sakura, you can't. But Hinata. Why the heck would you give me muddy pebbles? Is that what you see? The pink-haired girl stopped her squirming. Hinata's question didn't make any sense. What do you mean, is that what you see? I mean, is what you see just some muddy pebbles? What? Of course I see muddy pebbles. What else would they be? The dark-haired girl gave Sakura a smile. A smile that said, I know something you don't know. Now Sakura was completely out of the loop. What? Hinata lifted her right hand. It began glow light blue. Watch. Sakura watched as Hinata grazed her hand over her own, placing it onto the pebbles. She's seen Hinata's hand glow like that before. It always glowed that color when she was using her element water. When she finally removed her hand, Sakura's breath caught in her throat. Hinata had evidently used her element to wash the pebbles clean. But they weren't pebbles, they were gems. Sakura couldn't believe what she was seeing. In her hand she held at least 6 different gems. They each bore their own brilliant color, shining and sparkling underneath the hot sun. They were small yet so extraordinary. Sakura couldn't help but stare in awe. Something might seem bad now. Sakura was shook out of her astonishment by Hinata's serious yet comforting voice. But it might just be a blessing in disguise. Or a gem is a disguise. The pink-haired Kunoichi gave a sad, knowing smile. She knew exactly what Hinata was referring to. And never had she have so much gratitude for both the girl and a couple of muddy pebbles. Thank you, Hinata. A huge smile took over the Hyuga heiress's features. You're welcome, Sakura. They both shared similar smiles before Hinata said her goodbyes. Sakura watched as her friend retreated from the forest. When she was out of sight, Sakura looked back down to the gems in her hand. She picked up a green one that had caught her eye and threw the others back into the muddy stream. She watched as the pretty gems floated down into the muddy abyss. Maybe it's time that I moved on. Placing the green gem into her back pouch, the pink-haired Kunoichi walked out of the forest. Part 1 end here. And that's for today. Hope you guys like the story. This series will continue in the next part. And you guys can leave a comment regarding the story. I will try to answer all comments. For part 2, check out my channel.